Or the guy in the blue shirt. Situated first.
I talked to Jay. I think we'll figure something out when it's over.
Ready? Yeah. Good. Okay, sorry. Hello, everyone. We'll be getting started here now with the City of Joliet City Council meeting for today, Tuesday, September 19th, 2023, starting at 6:30-ish p.m. We'll begin with the invocation led by Father Ed Shea, formerly of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church at 404 North Hickory Street.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Gracias a ti, Señor. There's a great saint from the 16th century by the name of Meister Eckhart who said, "If thank you is the only prayer I say my whole life, that would be enough. Si gracias es la única oración de toda mi vida, sería suficiente." God of life and love and welcome and inclusivity, we give you thanks tonight for the great gift of the city of Joliet here at the crossroads of America. We give you thanks for the people of this great city who for many years have formed a community of welcome and hospitality for all cultures and all ways of life and languages. We thank you tonight for our still new mayor, my friend Terry Darcy, and for his vision and dream to make Joliet into the most godly city in the country. I offer tonight, Lord, two reflections which come to us in the United States during this month of September, a month that always feels like a new beginning, a time to start over again. Una página más. The first comes from the United States Catholic Council of Bishops, and it's a prayer for Labor Day. As we begin this month of labor, we give thanks. As the sun rises to bring in the new day, we remember those who descend into the earth. Their work begins in darkness, pulling from the earth the resources we steward. We remember those who work inside a building, away from the light and the brightness of the day. We remember those who work outside in the harsh elements of our world, the bitter cold and sweltering heat of extremes. We remember those in our city who do not have a job to go to, who are struggling to meet the needs of their daily living expenses, for whom the day becomes long and even arduous. As the sun sets to bring in the evening of rest, we remember those who work in the night. We remember those who are trying to recover from their labor in the toils of the day. We remember those who participate in unsafe and dangerous work. We pray for a renewed sense of dignity in their lives and in their work. God, in your goodness, you have made a home for the worker. This city is a city of workers. Make a place in our hearts for compassion, for compasión, for misericordia, for men and women who labor tirelessly for basic necessities. Ensure a place for the men and women who are struggling to find work. Grant us your wisdom to greet and care for those who are unable to work due to illness or circumstances that prevent their participation. Be with the children who are not able to run and play, but instead must put in a hard day's work to help their family, to afford to eat, to live. Be with us, O God, as we go about the busyness of our work. Bless this city council with wisdom and insight, with sabiduría en inteligencia. Bendice nos hoy con una visión, Señor. Hold us accountable, not only for our actions, but most importantly for our attitudes, how we treat our brothers and sisters. May we continue to work together to bring about your kingdom. We pray for wisdom. And the second prayer tonight comes from the saint of 9/11, a fellow Franciscan, Father Michael Judge. He was the one who was the first #1 victim in that tragedy on 9/11. And he said, Lord, take me where you want me to go. Let me meet who you want me to meet. Tell me what you want me to say. And most importantly, God, keep me out of the way. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Gracias a ti, Señor. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And on a lighter note, go Irish.
Thank you.
That was beautiful.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Darcy,
Here.
Councilman Cardenas.
Here.
Councilman Clement.
Here.
Councilman Guerrero.
Here.
Councilman Hug, absent. Councilwoman Ibarra.
Here.
Councilman Mudron.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Here.
First on the agenda this evening is a proclamation declaring September 17th through the 23rd, 2023 as Constitution Week.
Good evening, Mayor Darcy and members of the board of the City of Joliet. Thank you for allowing us to come before you this evening to receive your proclamation to promote Constitution Week from September 17th to the 23rd in your city of Joliet. I'm Pauline Herpy from Lewis Joliet Chapter, DAR member. And this is Bobby Today, a member of our chapter, and also the regent of our chapter. The purpose and mission of the Daughters of the American Revolution is to perpetuate the memory and spirit of the men and women who achieved American independence in 1776. To that end, we promote the education of the Constitution in our schools, libraries, and city halls, and we'd like to show you exactly what we do. This is a bit of show and tell, but it will show you exactly what we as a group do. So this is a poster that was made by one of our DAR sisters here in Illinois. And this is a poster that we take to the junior high school, where they teach either in the 7th grade or 8th grade about the Constitution. Also, we have chosen St. Ray's parochial school. Maybe some of you know it, here in Joliet. We teach the Constitution. The teacher teaches the most, but we add to it by having these little kits that we take over there, and we will go there in January, 2 of us. The Liberty Bell, the American flag. This is the preamble to the Constitution, so they can use it as a bookmark to remind them about the preamble, about the Constitution. And here's a Constitution book with all sorts of facts about the founders of our country and what they had to go through to make up the Constitution. A pen, thank you, a pen, and then a word search with all sorts of patriotic words. So these are ways that we, the DAR, try to supplement the teaching of the Constitution at St. Raymond's. As Abraham Lincoln said at the end of the Civil War, our safety, our liberty depends on preserving the Constitution of the United States as our fathers made it inviolate. The people of the United States are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow men who pervert the Constitution. Again, thank you again for having us here tonight. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you have a
Thank you.
proclamation, great. Thank you.
Proclamation.
How about, you wanna take a picture of us?
Sure, when I finish.
Oh, you wanna read the proclamation?
I'd like to, yeah.
That'd be great, thank you.
Yeah.
Please.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for the honor of reading this proclamation for Constitutional Week. It is a great honor, so thank you.
Thank you.
This could be one of the greatest documents, I would say, that was ever written, so.
Yes.
Here's the proclamation in reference to Constitutional Week. The proclamation reads, whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule by law, and whereas September 17th, 2023 marks the 236th anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitution Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to the magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitutional Week. Now, therefore, I, Terry Darcy, Mayor of the City of Joliet, Illinois, on behalf of the Joliet City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd as Constitutional Week in Joliet, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties. Signed today, September 19th, 2023, by our Honorable Mayor, Terry Darcy.
Thank you, Joe.
Oh, yeah, we can finish them tonight. Come on. He's gonna get the shorty. I'm still short. You're gonna have to move over.
One more shot.
It's the fun part.
And I have my big girl shoes on today, too.
Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Citizens to be heard on agenda items. We have a few people that have signed up, so I'm going to call 3 names at a time. If you could line up at the back of the room to keep things flowing tonight. Jay Gregory, you can approach the podium, and then Marissa Nations and Hudson Hollister would be next. Jay Gregory, you can approach the podium and start.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about Rowell Avenue and Laraway School. Laraway School moved to this location to avoid truck traffic. If we allow trucks to go to a new entrance on Rowell Avenue, it'll create a bigger issue on Rowell Avenue. And there has to be a solution to turn trucks around before they get to Laraway School or they get to the township property or Will County. The city of Joliet, in their ultimate wisdom, built a road that stops, 3-lane road that stops at the edge of Excel's property. And then it goes to a half road that goes to Laraway School property. Then it changes to tarmac that goes to Route 52. The tarmac road was never designed for trucks. The bridge there was never designed for trucks. The road in front of Laraway School is only half a road. It wasn't designed for trucks. And the rest of the township property to Excel's property really wasn't designed for trucks. So there has to be a way to turn trucks around before they get to that. If a truck follows Rowell Avenue being a truck route now, any truck could turn down there following commercial vehicles, thinking they could get down. But if they aren't allowed to turn in to Excel's property and have a traffic circle inside of Excel's property where they can turn around and go back to the south instead of going north, and they're going to try and turn around in the middle of the street, which in a semi-truck, that's really difficult. So I suggest there has to be an alternative method to turn the trucks around before they get to a truck road that is not a truck road. I guess that's how to put it. And otherwise, you're building a big trap. You know, I hunted a lot, and that's pretty much how you catch a muskrat, is run them down a hole like that and kill them at the end. And that's basically what you do with a truck that comes down there, either by design, because they're trying to follow a bad Google map, or they just want to avoid truck weight limits or whatever they want to do. They have to be turned around before they get to the township property. So I just want you to be aware that you're creating a huge problem if you allow truck traffic to use Rowell Avenue. It's going to be a big plug on the end of Rowell Avenue. So I think somewhere in planning or traffic or engineering in Joliet, somebody's got to be able to figure that out so they can turn a truck around. And I don't think they want to build a roundhouse in the middle of Rowell Avenue or a turntable, but a traffic circle might be a great idea. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Lancers.
Marissa Nations.
Good evening. My name is Marissa Nations. I'm here on behalf of my 3 kids. This is my oldest, Brody, and the rest of the students that attend Laraway Elementary. I'd like to address the requested zoning change on Rowell Avenue. This is just not a good idea. I've lived in Preston Heights on Route 53 most of my life. And if you are familiar with that area, you already know how overrun we are with semi-traffic as it is. In recent years, it has become increasingly dangerous. My kids' bus stop is actually at the end of my driveway on 53. I've already had so many issues with semis, flying right past the bus while it's stopped with its sign visible. I've tried to seek out help in trying to reduce that, but I haven't been able to get anybody to help with that problem. My point is, if they aren't paying attention or they simply can't obey a bus's stop sign with students on the bus, how can I trust them driving up and down Rowell Avenue where their school is? They already have roads that they can use, which is Laraway Road, Emerald Drive, Briggs Street, Mills Road, Manhattan Road, 53. And then if you're familiar with Rowell Avenue itself, you know there's absolutely no room for semi-traffic down that road. And it has a potential for accidents. It'll completely damage the road itself. I mean, how many times does 53 have to be repaired? And It just seems completely unnecessary. It poses a danger to Laraway Elementary students. Preston Heights is being taken over by warehouse industry. Let's not give them Rowell Avenue.
Please vote no.
Hudson Hollister.
Hello again. I'm Hudson Hollister, co-chair of the Courthouse Preservation Partnership. I want to thank y'all for the time you invested last night as many of your constituents shared their view that the 1969 courthouse building ought to be preserved and reused, not destroyed. Don't worry, we are not going to spend nearly as much time during tonight's public comments. We appreciate your listening. I just have one thing to remind y'all of. The only supporter of demolition that came to last night's meeting was the Will County Executive's Office, and they had one main argument. That main argument is that the Will County Board voted to tear down the old courthouse 4.5 years ago, and the county has been planning to demolish that building ever since. Furthermore, the Will County Executive's Office has announced plans to build a new city-county complex on that site. In fact, the Will County Executive's Office intends to ask you to help pay for that complex. However, across 4.5 years of studies and procedure, 4.5 years of planning a city-county complex that you and I will help pay for, the first time the county executive ever formally addressed the city council about this site was yesterday. As you heard many times last night, this is the most prominent and important location in our city. It was already the most important civic center in Joliet when Joliet was Juliet. It is older than the county itself. The old courthouse is not just a building that the county government owns. It is the fourth courthouse in the lineage that goes back to 1834. It was the largest and most prominent building in downtown Joliet for 50 years, and every single one of us spent time in it. The future of this building and this location is very much our business, Joliet's business, and your business. Of course, the Courthouse Preservation Partnership believes that the building should be preserved and not destroyed. That's our name. But even if you hate the building, you as members of the Joliet City Council ought to be consulted about what happens to it. Last night, Mayor Darcy quite rightly asked if landmark status is irrevocable. I'm glad we got that question answered. Landmark status does not mean that the building can never be torn down. It just means the city has to be consulted. The only irrevocable choice you can make tonight would be demolition. We are asking you to make a different choice, to approve landmark status and enter into discussions with the county about the future of this important building and this important site. According to the county's own arguments, that discussion should have begun 4.5 years ago, but you can begin it now. Thank you.
Next three speakers are Janet Diaz, Cesar Escudia, and Quinn Adamowski.
Hi, my name is Janet Diaz. I'm Will County Board Member number 6 in this district. We're all sitting and standing in my district. Again, on behalf of my constituents, I'm advocating for the former Will County Courthouse preservation and reuse versus being demolished and destroyed. As I said yesterday, preservation, adaptive reuse is better for Joliet and Will County citizens for many reasons. I do want to take a moment and say thank you for your time that you invested in listening to our constituents. Beyond the reasons you heard from last night, I have one additional strongly reason why we should be in favor of preservation versus demolition. That reason, good paying union jobs. Construction jobs with our local people being put to work fixing this building up. You might be surprised at this, as many have pointed out last night, the Will County government wants to tear down the former Will County Courthouse so that it can be built into a large, expensive new city complex that they would like you to pay for. I'm not for that. Preserving the existing building is much cheaper and greater for the people of Joliet and Will County as a whole. So how can preservation create the good-paying union jobs compared to demolition? I was lucky enough to go on a tour and visit Rockford and take a tour of the Amarok building, which is the best example of preservation using the tax credit dollars. The Amarok building was an abandoned owned factory by the city of Rockford, and they too also wanted to tear it down. And it was in much, much worse shape than our old Will County Courthouse. But instead of demolition, Rockford did choose to preserve the Amarok building. It is now the Embassy Suites. Go ahead, stay a night there, you'll fall in love. They used tax credits to get this done. This is an example of adaptive reuse project that used 100% local union labor jobs. By itself, Amarok building project cost about $80 million, but that's not all I have to share with you. This transformation of this building was like a butterfly. It started out ugly, it became beautiful, it attracted more developers to the city. We need that here in Joliet. Amarok building transformation into the Embassy Suites triggered over $300 million in additional projects in downtown Rockford. I'd like to see $300 million here in Joliet. Thank you. As you can clearly see, this project brought in far more good-paying union jobs in the construction venue than one project ever could. I ran for this office to help support the rights of unionized workers and at the private and public sector. I also believe in delivering as many good-paying jobs for construction as well as other union jobs throughout this county. I saw this in Rockford. The preservation and adaptive reuse created so many good jobs that demolition can never do. Tonight, I'm asking you for the opportunity for you to choose preservation over demolition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say one word on Laurel Avenue as a bus driver? Please vote no.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Cesar Escutia, Caesar if you prefer. I'm a Joliet Township trustee. I will say one brief word as a private citizen. Please do support the adaptive reuse of the courthouse by voting in favor of placing a landmark status on it. As a township trustee, I would like to reiterate my desire to come to the table as a public entity coming with other public entities to come up with a solution on this. Now, as elected officials, we are meant to, explore every single facet of a solution to a problem that our constituents bring up. Now, obviously, that isn't, feasible for every single issue, especially small ones, to go that extensively into it. However, when you have, the passion and the drive and the, now, over a year that people in the city and in this county have dedicated to this courthouse, I feel as though it's our responsibility as elected officials to truly explore every single facet of a solution to bring about the best solution for our constituents. And I do feel that that involves, a unilateral coalition between Township, city, county, and any other municipalities that choose to aid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, before I begin, can I ask a question of clarity for Corporation Counsel?
Sure.
I know it's unorthodox, but since we have 8 members here, and the resolution calls for denial, in the event of a tie, what would that mean?
Well, the usual rule is, the usual rule is that a motion fails unless it receives a majority of those present and voting. So if there were a tie, the motion would fail.
Correct. And so what would that mean for the actual recommendation by the Preservation Commission?
I'll have to look at that. It's, I suspect that the effect would be that it would have to be held over to a time where there is a vote on a motion which carries a majority of those present and voting.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. Can we reset the clock?
That's fine.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, City Council, Quinn Adamowski, Regional Advocacy Manager with Landmarks Illinois. That's the capacity in which I am here to speak with you tonight. I know this is a little odd for me, and maybe for you because you guys know me. I live here. But this is not this is not the only place I work. I work statewide. Last year I worked with 72 communities on preservation projects. My organization's been around for 50 plus years. This is what we do. We are tied to developers, we are tied to architects. We live in the space of preservation. And so that is what I'm bringing to you tonight. Through this entire process, since my organization placed the county courthouse on the most endangered properties list, we tried to bring many resources to the county. I have 2 of those documents with you tonight. I'm not going to go through them, but one of them is the summary responses to our RFEI, and the other is a tax credit 2-pager that we use to promote the passage of bill in Springfield, which was successful to expand and enhance the tax credit bill. So again, we live in this space, and we have a lot of data and a lot of other information that we can bring to the table. The problem is that the county just has not engaged. So I understand that this is not your issue, this is their issue to figure out, but if they're not willing to talk, if they're not willing to create a committee to explore this, what are we supposed to do? So that's why we're making this appeal to you. It's not, I would argue, not good government to not sit down and explore all options. You have the ability tonight to at least have a say in that. And as you all know, speaking as a resident real quick, I was in a campaign for city council. And one of the things I always said publicly, one of the things I've always said privately, even before I ran for city council, is I think it's everybody's job in this town, it's incumbent upon us to find a way to yes. And to me, the only way to find a way to yes, potentially, is to have a discussion. And again, that discussion's not happened here, and that discussion has not happened at the county, I would argue, because again, last week they rejected the idea of an ad hoc committee for that very purpose. So my appeal to you, assuming that you don't want to landmark the building, is the same as last night, which is find another path. Whether that's table, reaching out to the county. I think what we need is a charrette. I think that we need to have all the stakeholders in a room to have the conversation. What are the possibilities? Now, whether that's just county officials and courthouse preservation people and me, sure. Whether that includes township, even better. Perhaps that includes the city of Joliet. The point is that without having these discussions, we're making blind decisions. Frankly, it's intellectually bankrupt to say that we've explored all options, not explore options, and when people say, hey, there are options, to say, well, we don't want to listen. So I just appeal to you again. Find a way to yes, find a way to work with the county, bring stakeholders together, have a meaningful, real explorative conversation about the future of that site. And if at the end of the day, that party deems, the county deems through that process, that the building must come down, that is not an asset, then so be it. But at least the process was complete, and at least the process was open and transparent. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Elaine Bottomley, Betsy Satcher, and Sherry Williams.
Good evening, Mayor Darcy and members of Joliet City Council. I am the one Will County Executive Office person that was alluded to earlier. So again, my name is Elaine Bottomley. I'm the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Will County Executive. I'm here today speaking on item 478-23, the resolution denying a request to designate 14 West Jefferson Street as a local historic landmark. Will County is the owner of the building, and Will County agrees with the staff recommendation to not landmark the old courthouse. Will County Board, since 2019, has been actively pursuing demolition of the building. There have been multiple votes taken by our complete board of 22 people, including the most recent vote on September 7th, which wasn't 22, that was within our executive committee. But they considered alternative uses and that motion failed. That still leaves us on the path towards demolition, again, not wanting to landmark the structure. This isn't a decision that was made lightly. This isn't a decision that can be made lightly. The Will County Board has consistently weighed and considered public input and participation at the various meetings that we've been having within the past couple of years, while also considering the legal limitations that exist on the parcel today. The information shared in public comment at pre-council yesterday, the information shared today, has all been in front of our Will County Board members at numerous times. They have heard all of this. I really do want to reiterate that the Will County Executive is and has been directed by the Will County Board with demolition. I know there's been a couple mentions about a potential and possible city-county building and county structure. We are not near that right now. The county executive provided an option and a vision for the land because of the assumptions on what the land will become. And I will stand here right now and promise you, it will not be a parking lot. Any development, any new structure, anything that will be built on this parcel will have to go to county board for a vote, for consideration, for allocation on funds. None of this has happened yet. So at this point, we are not even talking about a county structure. We have not even started talking about a possible future city-county structure. Again, I do want to reiterate that this building does meet some of your criteria for landmarking a property. However, your ordinance does allow you to take in consideration owner preference. And in this case, Will County, as the owner of the property, consistently and continually since 2019, has moved forward towards demolition of the structure. I want to reiterate yet again, Will County does formally object to the designation of this building. I really do want to say thank you again for your time today. Thank you for your time yesterday. I will be sticking around. Will be available for any questions when it comes time for the agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Betsy Satcher.
Hello, my name is Betsy Satcher. I'm here with Eastside Neighborhood Council representing them. Thank you to the mayor, city council for giving me this opportunity to stand before you and speak. And we just want Laraway School, all the staff, all the administration, all the parents, all the students to know that we stand with you. We're on the east side of Joliet, and we have come before you asking and asking and asking that you do not approve these businesses that's going to bring more truck traffic in our area. We just don't have the room for it. We truly don't. Our neighborhood, everywhere you go, you can't go anywhere on the east side of Joliet, including our residential streets where schools are, where there are not trucks. It's dangerous. And I applaud Laraway School. What did they do when the truck, when they came, I built, the center, and they brought all these trucks in? They named their school Laraway School for a reason. They had to sell their property. They had to relocate to move someplace else because of all the congestion. For the safety of the students, they did that. They moved out to an area where it would be more safe for the students. And now, you're going to allow a business to come that's going to bring more trucking right across from where they are. We're asking, we're begging, we're pleading that you do not allow this to happen for the good of our children, not for just now, but for 100 years from now. Please give them that peace that they need, the safety, the security that they need for their children and for the future. So we're asking you, we're begging you, hope, eternal life love for life. Please, 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 please vote no. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherry Williams. I am a Will County Board member for Will County Board District 5. And I'm here in support of the old courthouse being preserved and designated as a local landmark. One of the things when I first got elected, which was, I haven't even been in office a year yet, so I'm new like you, Mayor. Not as new, but still new. And we voted to go out for bid for demolition of the courthouse, which that was voted on by the previous county board in 2019. However, what we discovered after all of this is that every option to preserve the courthouse or to do something different than demolition had not been explored. So this is the reason why there is so much confusion on the board, because the county executive, and I would like to reiterate that the county executive's office is separate from the county board. We are two totally different entities. We work together, but she has her office, we have ours. So the county executive is totally in favor of demolition of the courthouse. Will County Board, not so much. This is why it's been a confusing time, because there are a number of us that are not in favor of this demolition. For myself, simply because all the options have not been explored. And since we have talked about this redevelopment, it seems like that is a very good option that should be explored, and we would like for it to be explored. I received word just before I came to this meeting that our county board chair, Judy Ogala, is now willing to consider an ad hoc committee to discuss further exploration of what can be done with this courthouse. So I was very, very happy to hear that, and I hope that we do develop an ad hoc committee, and I hope that I'm on that committee. But I do think that we should be working as all the government entities. That's one thing that has always puzzled me. I'm a Will County resident, lifelong Will County resident, retiree from the Will County Sheriff's Department. And as my colleague mentioned, labor union, I was a former union president when I was working. So I am very, very vested in this community, but I noticed that the government entities don't work together too much. This is an opportunity to do that. And I would love to work with you guys to preserve this courthouse if that's what we need, that's what you want to do. I'm willing to do that. My colleagues, a number of them, are also willing to do the same thing. So I'm asking that you guys consider, as hopefully we are on the county board, are going to do a consideration of exploring every option. And for me, if we're able to use tax credit and save the residents money, I'm all for that. Then that means the county don't have to spend as much money on the building either. So I am totally for that and working together to get that done. So I hope that you vote to make it landmark status and to not demolish, help us not to demolish that the county board, the old county courthouse. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Mary Beth Gannon, Jeremy Brzezicki, and Julia Alexander.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I could talk to you, I could go on forever about all the architectural merits of the courthouse. I think you've heard it all already. But I would like to talk to you tonight about other reasons why you need to save it. Many years ago, I went on a school field trip to Bicentennial Park. The late, great preservationist, Bill Ferguson, I know some of you in this room knew him, and Gene Stout, wonderful teacher, who also wrote a book on local preservation, took us to Bicentennial Park. And I walked around, and I guess I looked kind of sad about it, and Billy Leemacher came up to me and she said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Well, I want Bluff Street." And she said, "Well, I've got the bricks here." I said, "I know, but that's not the same." And she said, "Good." She said, "Don't ever let something like this happen again." And that stuck out in my mind. you know, just being a little kid, you know, preservation then. And I'm here now as Billy, as Mr. Ferguson, as Mrs. Stout, as all those preservationists before. And when I go past that courthouse, I tell my children that one of my relatives helped build that courthouse. Every union in this county played a part in building that courthouse, whether they were iron workers, electricians, laborers, fitters, whatever. They all played a role in putting that building together. During this process, one of the most unique things I've seen is people coming across the aisle, people of different political persuasions. I've seen Ms. Diaz, Mr. Butler, Ms. Morales, all these people who may have different political views, but they came together, they united. And in a time when people are so against each other and don't listen to each other, they found common ground. They worked together. But I also noticed during this whole process, as a commissioner, I never saw Ms. Bertino at any of the meetings. I did see her represented, but I didn't see Ms. Bertino. Ms. Quillman brought up a good point with the Cassidy Mansion. Yeah, I don't think we had the best steward for that. But you listened to Mr. Hollister last night. There's a sound financial plan for this courthouse. The township may be interested. A lot of people are interested, and we need to listen. You know, I think it was Ms. Jabeck who spoke last night. You know, people vote you in that can also vote you out. My family's been here 8 generations, and far too many buildings have gone during that time. And I bet there's not a single one of you up there, well, maybe a couple, but who didn't have a parent or a grandparent who survived the Great Depression. And those people, our greatest generation, they made use of everything. They didn't throw anything away. And, you know, they made it work, and they cared about quality, and that building is quality. So I'm asking you tonight to give it that landmark status. Let's give it a chance. You know, I heard Ms. Bottomley say earlier that we're not near having this city-county building together. Well, then what is the rush to get rid of the courthouse? Be the hero tonight. Listen to your constituents. Listen to your other governmental representatives who are working together instead of against each other. They're finding common ground. I hope you all find the same. Thank you.
Jeremy Brzezicki.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for taking this time with me tonight. I'm here to ask you to vote to designate the courthouse as a local landmark. I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's a beautiful building. It's a little ugly, but as an old house person, I can say it's got good bones. It's probably got some of the strongest bones you can find of any building in this entire town. Now, Hudson came to me a long time ago about this vision, about the vision for reusing the courthouse. And I've got to say, it's really exciting. This is an opportunity to have a public-private partnership that can bring some excitement to the city. And if anyone would like to argue with me, feel free to. But I think one of the things that I am so proud about this city is we do things a little bit differently here sometimes. This is an opportunity to do something unique. And I can tell you, we need as much help as we can, especially with downtown. I truly feel that our downtown is the heart of the city, and we should do everything we can to support it. The businesses down there, I know several of them, several of the owners. I mean, it's been a tough time. We need as many possible opportunities as we can down there. And frankly, without a plan to demolish the courthouse, without a plan for what it's going to be, it's not going to be a parking lot. It's not going to be a park. It's going to be a hole in the ground. And we do not need another hole in the ground in the city. We need a plan. We have an opportunity to do something excellent here. And I understand it's an ugly building, but there is so much we can do with it. And honestly, I'm excited. So again, thank you all for your time tonight. And I do hope that you'll vote to preserve this local landmark. Thank you.
City Council. How are you? Hey, Mr. Mayor, how you doing? Okay, of course you all know me. I'm Julia Alexander. I'm standing on behalf of the truck traffic that is on Rowell. I live on Rowell Avenue. And it seems that year after year after year after year, the East Side is fighting to get some relief from either warehouses, trucks, or you name it. Bessie Satcher, I know East Side organization has been constantly up here in front of this council, maybe not this council, but councils. I live on Rowell Avenue. And if you pull up your police records in the last couple of years, you will see the amount of accidents. And these are not trucks, these are cars. They come down that street, am I not right? These are my neighbors. They come down that street doing 80 and 90 miles. They're running into people's homes. Just a couple of months ago, a semi-truck came down Rowell Avenue. I have a tree in front of my house, tore that entire limb off, broke their mirror. My husband and my cousin and a few other guys pulled that big branch out of the street. I am afraid for my children to play in the front yard because of all the car damage that they do on Rowell Avenue. So now look, I know, I pretty much know each and every one of you. Each and every one of you pretty much have interviewed with me for your candidacy, running for your office. Sometimes I ask the question to you that when you're on this panel, you're not just voting for your district. You have to make a decision for every district that's in the city of Joliet. So what I want to know tonight, what decision are you going to make to better that the east side, to make it as comfortable as every other side of the city? And then the last thing I want to say is that, yes, that courthouse is ugly, but let's not tear it down.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item? Anyone else that would like to speak? If you'd like to speak, if you could line up in the center and form a line and then come up individually.
I've been before you before. My name is Sarah Barnett. I live on the east side. I'd like to ask, why? The question, why? Why would our side of the town have to go through all this? And then my concern, because I have two great-granddaughters that go to layaway. That's our future. If they ride the bus, if they get picked up, I pick them up sometimes. You talking about trucks on 53? I go the back way, so I don't have to deal with them. And then back there too, people are trying to get there and running. So if you don't live out there, and if truckers need a job, I agree. But why would you come and build a truck company across from? They had to move. And I used to like where layaway was. They had farms and they had produce, organic. Now we don't have none of that. We don't even have stores over here. So now you're messing with our future. So think about yourself. I'm going to say it again. The Bible says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I think some people don't love themselves, so they can't love their neighbor. You have to be concerned about everybody. So I want to thank you. So if you bow your knees and pray tonight, ask God, why are you sitting there? He allowed you to get in. None of us is perfect, but we can work together. United together is better. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Samantha Gasca, and I'm running for State Senate District 19, which is East Joliet over, but I'm not here for that. I'm here as a private citizen making a comment. I want to reiterate with what a lot of people who have said here tonight, because I just felt compelled to speak. Don't normally do this, but I feel like he who kneels the most stands the tallest. And I think it surprised me when I heard stuff about Will County being at odds with the people so much, because I know some of the people on Will County Board, and when you came up and spoke about that, I was like, Frankie Pretzel and Judy Ogala and Katie Dean Schlotman, I'm like, there's no way they're about being against the odds of the will of the people.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, it confused me a little bit when they were saying that. So what I think is that it's really not good for elected officials to be at odds with the people. So whoever's out there needs to really keep a sharp remembrance of who's against what the people want and keep your mind on it and remember for the next elections or future elections, don't forget. And there's a lot of things. Maybe you can find a way to bridge this building to the next building, find a way to connect the buildings to make it easier for everybody, but repurpose the building. And you can use that building or part of it as resources for domestic violence, sex trafficking in the area, which I know for a fact is in this area because I know a girl who is being trafficked that I met 4 days ago from Joliet and Madison. And so there are so many repurposes we can use that building for good things, positive things that uplift and draw the community together. And not be at odds with people and one another where we're all fighting and angry with one another. We should find a way to compromise. That kind of disgusts me when we have that attitude as politicians and people who are in leadership, when we don't listen to the will of the people. So that's all I had to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Suzanne, how are you?
Good, how are you, Cal?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cal Bruton, and I live on Rowell Avenue. I've been there for about 20 years now. And I don't know if any of you, the members on the board, been down that way lately, but right down the street from me is Joshua Arms, I think they call it. And the people that live in that building, most of them don't have automobiles. And they walk up and down Rowell Avenue. I've seen 4 or 5 accidents, people hitting other people, car accidents, and truck accidents. And I don't think if you were there to see some of this, we would even be talking about making Rowell Avenue a truck route. The trucks come up, they tear the trees down, and the people don't even have a place to walk, but just up and down the street. And not just walking, but in scooters, handicapped people. They have to use that street to get back and forth to where they live at. So I'm just saying, would you please not make Rowell Avenue a truck route? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanisha Rouse. I am 3rd generation growing up in Preston Heights. Our 4th generation is just now growing up. There are no bus signs that the buses are stopping on 53. You guys have already had the trucks take over that area. Our kids can't even cross the highway to play with each other anymore. We used to be able to do that when we were growing up. Now our kids, we won't even let them nowhere near close to the road because there is no type of traffic control out there already. Rowell Road is not the place for it. Please, please, I own a house in Sugar Creek. Those trucks can't turn around in there. We've had how many semis get stuck in there already and over across the street and over in Sugar Creek. They're in there trying to turn around. They can't even move. Please just keep them away from Rowell Road and keep our babies safe because this is their area. This is where they are growing up. Like I said, this is our 4th generation coming up, starting preschool. We've got 1st graders, we got 5th graders, and we just want to be able to let them thrive in this environment the same way that we have. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak on an agenda item?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I had a chance to speak to the clerk before, and so on the matter on Rowell Avenue, the applicant is here to speak when it comes up. I just needed to make one point, and I'm not going to speak later. For those who were not here last night, and I think Mr. Okan was, for those who might be watching, this is not asking you to change the nature of Rowell Avenue at all. Nice people concerned about truck traffic, absolutely. So when Paul Uberar comes up from Cabot, he's going to give you a very short presentation, but nothing in the application is asking you to change Rowell Avenue. Thank you.
Moving on under appointments. Tonight, the mayor is recommending Tom Gravatsky be appointed to the Arts Commission. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is Mayor Pro Tem. It's recommended Councilwoman Ibarra be appointed to serve as Mayor Pro Tem for the term October 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council committee reports, Diversity and Community Relations Committee report.
The Diversity and Community Relations Committee met here in the council chambers on Monday, September 11th, 2023 at 3 p.m. Present was myself, Councilman Clement, and Councilwoman Ibarra. We had a short agenda. Really our only agenda item on that we discussed was an amendment, a substantial amendment to CDBG programming gears. In effect, we reallocated some of the funds from previous fiscal years that had not been allocated, put them towards programs that were that could use the funding. That will be, I believe, on the agenda for our next council meeting. But to be clear, none of the programs are going to have, funding cut. It's simply a reallocation of funding that wasn't put to use in past years. Not as an action item, but as a point of discussion, we discussed the idea of flying the Pride flag for Joliet Pride Fest, which is this Saturday. After some time of discussion, we made the recommendation to take the item to the Land Use and Legislative Committee so that we can begin formulating a citywide policy on what sorts of flags we would allow to be flown outside of City Hall. I'll let Councilwoman Coleman touch on that during her report for Land Use and Legislative Committee. So no final action there, but we did begin those conversations. So if there's anything else that the rest of the committee would like to, then that'd be my report.
Thank you.
Finance Committee report.
Finance Committee met today here at the City Hall at 5:30. On the committee is Councilwoman Quillman, myself, Larry Hugg, who is on the committee, has a family health issue, and he could not be there. We had a short agenda meeting. We met on the fees that are being charged, the late fees that are being charged for the water, also eliminating the disconnect fee. A new credit card company is being used to take payments on that. We also, general fund is still unaudited, scheduled to be audited. Revenue-wise, we're lower than where we were last year, but most of that had to do with the $11 million of grants that we got last year. When we discount that out, we're actually $6 million ahead of where we're at. Sales tax are up 2.3 from last year. Income tax is down 900,000 approximately, and license and permits are down just under $3 million. On a better note, expenses are trending better than what we had budgeted for. They're actually down just under $5 million. Sewer and water revenues are up, which had to do with the rate increase that was put in last year in order to offset what is going to be needed to tie into Lake Michigan's water there. General fund is still expected to do better than we had budgeted for, and the June through August visitors for the museum was up to 7,780, which is 2,500 increase from last year. The prison is up, they're at 5,398, and that's up 1,700 from last year. Late fees and disconnection fees are being changed, that if you have to be disconnected or reconnected during business hours, there would be no charge for that. Jan, anything?
No, that covered it all.
That's my report.
Thank you.
Land Use and Legislative Committee report.
Okay, Land Use and Legislative met here in Chamber at Thursday the 14th at 4:30. With myself, Councilman Guerrero, Councilman Reardon, and council was Mr. Todd Greenberg and Chris Regis. First item that we discussed was the pending amendment to the Inspector General Ordinance, and interim counsel Todd Greenberg told us that this amendment was necessary in order to make our ordinance compliant with applicable state statute and case law. So the amendment was recommended to advance to council for approval. The next item was an amendment to the alarm code. For many years, building alarms were hardwired to the police dispatch center, and users were required to pay an annual fee and provide contact information to the police department. Technology has rendered that system obsolete, and private companies have filled the void. So therefore, the amendment now removes the fee and subscription model and leaves the alarm business in the hands of private companies. This amendment was recommended to advance to council for approval as well. A potential policy or ordinance regarding flag displays on municipal poles, flag poles, was discussed. No consensus was reached, and so no recommendation was made at this time. And that includes, anybody else? That concludes our report. Thank you.
Public Service Committee report.
Public Service Committee met yesterday, September 18th at 4:30 here in the council chambers. Councilwoman Quillman and myself, Councilman Hug, could not be there for the same family health issues. We had a full agenda under contracts. We had 8 separate contracts, the largest of what was for PT Farrell for $844,000. All contracts are on the website and have been moved to be voted on by the entire city council. Under change orders, we also had 8, the largest of which was for Austin Tyler with road repairs, one for $463,000, $747,000, and $645,000, and all contracts were moved to be voted on by the full council. Changes in resolutions, there was 6 changes there, and all of them have been moved to be voted on by the city council, and all specifics are listed on the city website.
No?
That's my report.
Thank you.
I show no other reports. Moving on, under consent agenda, approval of the minutes. It's recommended the minutes of the council meeting held on September 5th, 2023 stand approved as recorded. Invoices to be paid. It's recommended this report be approved. Council memo 454-23 position vacancies. It's recommended the city manager be authorized to fill 1 social worker position in the fire department, along with any subsequent vacancies which may occur. Council memo 455-23 award of contract renewal of the community notification system from July 31st, 2023 through July 30th, 2024 to Will County 911 System in the amount of $31,125. Council Memo 456-23, award of contract for the Joliet Street, Ottawa Street streetscape improvements to PT Farrow Construction Company in the amount of $113,238.36. Council Memo 457-23, award of contract for the Well 17D emergency rehabilitation to Great Lakes Water Resources Group in the amount of $244,746. Council Memo 458-23, award of contract for the replacement of the redundant drinking water master SCADA equipment to Toric Engineering in the amount of $34,609. Council Memo 459-23, Amendment Number 2 for the professional services agreement for the Phase 3 engineering services for the Chicago Street Sidewalk Vault Contract 1 to Civil Tech Engineering in the amount of $21,737. Council Memo 460-23, Change Order Number 2 for the Joliet, Illinois 53 at Emerald Drive contract to PT Farrow Construction Company in the amount of $232,551.14. Council Memo 461-23, Change Order Number 2 for the Black Road Lift Station Modifications Project to Williams Brothers Construction in the amount of $107,889.52. Council Memo 462-23, payment for the cash contribution balance for the feasibility cost share agreement to the Department of the Army in the amount of $45,810. Council Memo 463-23, payment for utility relocation required for Illinois Route 53 at Emerald Drive improvements to Comcast Cable Communications in the amount of $41,209.65. Council Memo 464-23, purchase of 5 stair chairs for the Joliet Fire Department from Stryker in the amount of $60,926.50. Council Memo 465-23, request to upfit police squads by painting doors at West Jeff Auto Sales LLC in the amount of $77,000 and branding units at Element Graphics and Design in the amount of $47,491.50. Council Memo 466-23, professional service agreement for the 2025 Water System Rehabilitation Program to Baxter and Woodman in the amount of $846,500. It's recommended Council Memos 455-23 through 466-23 be approved. Is there a motion to approve all said consent agenda items?
Before we do that, I have to consult with council for 5 minutes.
Okay.
I have issues.
I wasn't here. Yeah. You could make a motion for that on the consent agenda. See if you get a second.
Could we get Jeff Carey to clarify? Okay. The social worker is sorely needed, but to do procedure correctly, this young lady, we have nothing wrong with the social worker, but she was here at our meeting tonight saying that she was hired as that position. When after consulting here with council, she'd been working here as an intern. But we don't see it on our personnel thing, and I'm just trying to keep things correct as far as procedure goes, since we're looking at all our ordinances, and we're approving this position tonight. And nice young lady, nothing against that, but I'm just trying to follow procedure here. So I don't know what we should do.
Councilwoman, I think we could have Chief address it in a little more detail. Chief Carey from the fire department.
But he doesn't hire, you do.
I understand, but he knows the history on her role and when she was working in the department. The CDBG funding, that's going to be providing the grant source
Again,
for this.
I have no problem with this. I'm all set for this. I want to approve it. but it hasn't been done legally. That's what I'm saying. Everything else now, Inspector General's not legal, this isn't not legal, you're supposed to do the hiring. She was here tonight, lovely lady. We're excited for the social worker for the fire department, but she's not on our personnel thing, and she said she was hired for the
No,
position.
no one's been hired. It'll be posted tomorrow. She was not hired yet.
Well, I was just going by what she had said.
No, that was a mistake.
Okay, well, that's a
She
mistake,
was
that's
just here
okay.
as an intern. She has not been hired with.
That was my question, no problem, I mean, she
I
was
was just
great.
figured I'd clear that up. She has not been hired.
Okay,
It'll be posted on the city website tomorrow.
didn't you just say you hired her?
No,
Or
I
you're
did
going
not.
to
I
hire her?
said she was an intern.
Okay, well, we were in the discussion here, and that's what we were talking about, Councilman Mudrin and myself, and wanted to make sure that it was all correct, that was it.
Yes.
Okay.
Nope.
I have no problem with it, we need it.
And to clarify, the funding that will fund the position through the CDBG is effective October 1st, so that'll be her start date.
Okay, we're great, that's good, but everything's been kind of wishy-washy these days, so I'm just trying to make sure we follow procedures so it doesn't come back to haunt us later.
Okay.
But that's good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion to approve all said consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
Quick question to Rod. With the social worker, and I am certainly very supportive of mental health social workers, counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists, this is funded by the CDBG funds this year. Do we have a solid plan how we're going to fund it moving forward, or is it just a one-year position?
I think the intention is that we would continue to do that, but that's a decision we're gonna have to make on a going forward basis.
All right, so we'll revisit this in 1 year.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve all said consent agenda items. Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Abara?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Under agenda item, Council Memo 468-23, award of contract to ABDG for the City Council Chambers Audio Visual Upgrade Project in the amount of $304,158.28. It's recommended this item be tabled to the October 17th council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Been motioned and seconded to table Council Memo 468-23 to the October 17th council meeting. Councilwoman Abara?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 468-23 is tabled to October 17th. Under licenses and permit applications, Council Memo 470-23, transfer of a Class BG liquor license at 1987 West Jefferson Street, Jefferson BP. It's recommended the transfer of the BG liquor license for the Jefferson BP located at 1987 West Jefferson Street be approved. The Deputy Liquor Commissioner is here, as well as the petitioner, if there's any questions.
So moved.
Mayor?
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, I just brought up briefly yesterday, I'll be very brief. I just think, that, this was on the agenda a couple weeks ago and it was denied. I just think that the proper procedure should be the applicant, who I have nothing against his business or what he's trying to do. But I think the procedure should be that he goes to the State Liquor Commission Control. Our decision up here 2 weeks ago gets overturned, and then we would approve that license, just to keep things clean. I think by voting on issues and bringing them back 2 weeks later, I just don't think that is the right thing to do, but that's just my opinion. So, thank you.
Can I have Kevin come up and speak to this? I was the one that requested to bring it back, and I didn't understand the whole depth of this, and I apologize for that when we made the vote last time. And that's why I asked to bring it back. So I'd like to have Kevin kind of go through this a little bit, which we didn't do when we denied this the first time.
Okay, first off, Councilman Clement, sorry. I did call the Illinois State Commission today. I spoke with Danielle Daniels. She was a bit confused. I asked her if this is something that should go to appeal, And she says, according to the state of Illinois, there's nothing to appeal because it's still a valid license with the state of Illinois, because this is a transfer of a license. Do you understand what I mean?
It's a transfer, but
Right.
he doesn't have it yet.
Right, so, no, that's, but when I called the state of Illinois, I guess, according to them anyway, in their paperwork, it's still a valid license, so there's nothing for us to, or for him to appeal to them. That's the explanation I got from the state.
Kevin, is that because it's tied to the gaming?
All right, I'll explain the license really fast. There's 5 of them in Joliet. They're where liquor licenses to gas stations where it's actually illegal. It's actually legal to drink at the gas station. This particular gas station, they do not allow drinking on the premise. The license is necessary to have gaming. Okay, so I don't know why, if the reason that the state doesn't, I guess, understand why there would be a denial. According to her, she said, all we need is a transfer of the paperwork from one person to another. And other than that, the liquor license isn't an issue, whether it's something to be voted on or not, according to the state. That's the only thing I got from them as far as going to appeal to them. That's really all I can say on that.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what else.
Again,
And
he doesn't have the license yet. He could appeal it. It's gonna go in front of a board, and they're gonna make the decision. That's all. I worked out of Liquor Commission's office. We never did this unilaterally. If anything was denied, it always went back to the state Liquor Commission control if it was denied. And I think we're gonna run into a problem down the road where when things are denied, people are gonna come back here and they're gonna say, well, it wasn't presented correctly, I want another bite at the apple. We're just gonna keep going in the circle. And I'm trying to keep it clean and smooth for everything. That's it. If it came back, State Liquor Commission control says, let them have the license, all good, I'm for it. I mean, it all started back in the Thornton gas station, and Lambert appealed the denial and he won. So we gave him the license. And that's all I'm trying to do. There's no animosity here or anything like that. I'm just trying to keep everything clean. Those are my comments.
Mayor, there's two provisions. One, there is a provision that if and the applicant is not the person bringing this back, but if the applicant did want to bring this back, we have a provision in our liquor code which within 30 days of the denial permits an applicant to bring it up to present new evidence. So even if he were the one, which he isn't, it would be within the liquor code that we have for the applicant to be able to bring this back to present new evidence. Secondly, as you pointed out, is yourself in your capacity as liquor commissioner who brought this back. And section 4-13F states that time limits imposed on the commissioner by this chapter are directory only and not mandatory. That means that you have the ability to do this within your power as liquor commissioner to bring a matter back to the council.
Question, Kevin?
Yep.
I don't know, maybe the State Liquor Commission personnel believe that all city councils are rubber stamps. If we stand by our denial, she either directly or implied indirectly that he's done. I mean, he has no right to appeal. Is that what you're telling me she said? If we stand by our denial under our ordinances.
She did not say that as far as I'm concerned.
So she didn't clarify what would happen if we stand by the denial.
I think she was actually confused on what she would do if it was denied and he appealed them because in her paperwork, it's an actual valid liquor license that was not denied.
Councilman, there's nothing for the state to look at unless we actually take this license away from the present owner.
Right, but we're not doing that per se. We're awarding it to a new owner.
But until we say this license no longer exists, there's nothing for the state to review.
And by denying a transfer, we are saying it no longer exists to the new owner. It's not traveling.
No, it still exists as to the present owner. That's what the deputy is telling you. Until this license ceases to exist, there's nothing for the state to review.
So are they saying that for a transfer, it's just paperwork that needs to go to the state? I mean, do we have to approve those transfers or?
Well, unless we unless we approve a transfer, the current owner stays with
I see.
that, with
Okay.
that liquor license. Now, if he decides he just can't make a go of it, you know, maybe he goes out of business. But that license stays with that person until it's either voluntarily surrendered, if the person goes out of business, or if the liquor commissioner decides for some reason to revoke the license.
Mr. Greenberg, when you refer to current license holder, you're talking about the guy who's selling the business?
That's correct.
Okay. So what we're trying to do is transfer to the, I don't know how, if they finalize the sale, I don't know that. We're being asked under our ordinance, it says that they need approval for the transfer. So layman would look at it as an awarding of an existing to a new recipient, right? If we say no to that.
But it doesn't matter what layman thinks, it's what the law is, and the state, as the deputy has said they have nothing to review right now.
So what happens if we stick with our denial of transfer?
Then it stays with the current owner.
And what if they've already sold the business?
Well, they shouldn't have.
Okay. So there is no recourse. If we decide to deny, it's transfer, it's denied. I get what you're saying now. That wasn't my
Again, the
question.
current owner has the right to continue this
Right.
business.
Unless he doesn't want to, if he's already
And
sold
then he
it.
surrenders his license if he wants to.
So if we don't transfer it to the new owner, if they've already finalized the sale, if it's over?
That's,
Then
whether they finalize the sale is not our problem.
No, that's my question. We do have to consider everything. We have to consider our constituents, both business and private. We answer to the people directly. Maybe you don't. We do. My point is.
I'm telling you what the
I know,
law
but my
is.
point is, if the current guy says, okay, I still hold the license, they didn't transfer it to you, I'm going home. You bought the business. The new guy has no license.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all I was asking to begin with.
Mr. Mayor. And again, I disagree. This is a valid license. The new applicant had to file the application. There was a liquor hearing. The same thing you would do if it was a brand-new license. This license is being transferred to a new applicant.
It is a
new
different
owner.
procedure when a new license is created. Transferring is a different procedure from creating a new license.
We still go through the background check. We do the same thing.
Yes, there are similarities, but it is legally different.
Councilman, I see your point. I understand what you're trying to say is, if we say no, which we did, we listened, we talked, we had a brief discussion, we outlined what the BG was, and we voted no. What I'm hearing tonight is, if you don't transfer it, it stays with the original guy, and if he walks away, and the new guy owns it, he says it's not his concern, but it is ours. The new guy owns the gas station, but there's no license. And, I guess that guy just sits on his license for eternity. But the transfer, I understand what you're saying. The transfer is something that we can say no to. And I think the answer I got from legal counsel was, if we do say no to it, the new guy is SOL. There's no recourse because there is no path, because the license still exists, but just not for him.
Right.
So, and I think we should stand by what we've already done then.
Yeah, we voted no. I think, I don't know if it was 8-1. I don't know what it was. And I don't know why it would change 2 weeks later.
Mayor, can I speak? To be fair, we were misled by someone on this council into the liquor flowing throughout this gas station freely, and that is within walking distance of my house, and that is not the case. This transfer has no plans at all to serve liquor, having swilling around the entire gas station, or serve open pour liquor at all. He has to have this license to have the gaming. Thank you.
Mayor, certainly I'm the council person that Councilwoman is referring to, and actually I did not mislead anybody. All we have is his word that he won't do it. He has the right to do it. If his customers say, we're not gonna sit here and gamble for 8 hours, you got 5 machines or 7 machines, if that dries up and they say, look, you gotta let us drink a beer while we're gambling, does he keep that word? So he is not legally bound. He is legally allowed to let it flow, as you worded it, Councilwoman. You're just trusting that he's saying, I won't do it. Let's be clear.
And that is exactly why we've had discussions with the mayor about putting a cap on these licenses.
That's the caveat that comes into the end of this discussion, is that I wasn't fully aware of the gaming liquor license that the state flows through our city. But what I'm asking is that when we continue this discussion, that it will be baked in there that there are now 5 of these available in the city right now. There will be no more after this. You know, this all began with Thornton's on Collins Street, and ironically, they've never even exercised the opportunity to use that. So, Joe, I understand what you're saying. This is not a typical liquor license. This is tied to a state-regulated gaming license. So I'm going to, again, say that I made a mistake. I didn't fully understand this when I will never let this happen to Terry Darcy in this council and this city again. I will know what I'm talking about when we bring something like this up. This moved pretty fast that day, and when I looked into the meat of this thing, I was wrong. And I'm going to sit here and say I was wrong, and I will accept that. But I'll also ask that we then agree that there will be no more of these liquor license gaming in our gas stations in the city. So that's why I'm asking to bring it back up and ask us all to vote our conscience then.
Thanks for the discussion.
No, that's all we wanted. Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 470-23, which is a transfer of a Class BG liquor license at 1987 West Jefferson Street, Jefferson, BP. Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Just to be clear, after last night, this is legal to do. Is that correct, Mr. Greenberg?
That's correct.
That's legal counsel saying it's correct. I will vote aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
No.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
I have opposed and voted no consistently, not just on the licenses themselves over the last several years and any transfers that may occur, but on the very ordinance itself. My prediction was the precedent set it will be a nightmare, and here we are. No.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-2. Under ordinances, Council Memo 472-23, an ordinance approving an amendment to a special use permit to allow enrollment of up to 160 students in preschool through 8th grade for an existing public day school located at 1205 North Larkin Avenue. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Mayor,
Motion
we
carried.
both forgot for a second. I'd like to make a brief
Oh,
statement.
I'm sorry.
I forgot too. I'm going to thank those both in the general public as well as some of the people up in the council that I've dealt with. Councilman Mudrin, thank you for acknowledging it. Myself, my wife, and my family are very private. I'll just say that I was not here. I was at Lightway's Hospice last night after spending 2.5 days round the clock at Silver Cross Hospital. Not up for me. And yesterday we made the difficult decision to go to Lightway's and help one of our family members exit their life. So I certainly want to be with my family. However, I know we have a couple of issues that are emotional, that people, small groups of people are very vocal about. Thank God for iPads and the internet, because even at Lightways last night, I was able to watch the stream and then go back and watch. So I've seen what everybody has said on all the issues. And today, when we're done voting, I'm going to exit quickly. I'm not going to stay for comments because I need to be with my family. So I hope for your continued compassion, and it's been great, Mayor, Councilwoman, Councilman Mudrin. It's been great, and the general public, and that's where I would like to leave it, because we are a private family. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Next is Council Memo 473-23, an ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an automotive service and repair facility located at 217 East Clinton Street. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second. It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is Council Memo 474-23, ordinances associated with the re-subdivision of Lot 3 in Laraway Distribution Center, Unit 2, This includes an ordinance approving the preliminary plat, an ordinance approving the final plat, and an ordinance approving the recording plat of re-subdivision of Lot 3 in Laramie Distribution Center, Unit 2. The attorney for the petitioner is here and would like to have a brief presentation.
You're upside down.
I thought you were doing that on purpose, so I didn't say anything.
It looks great in the back.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Councilman Hug, my sincere condolences to your family. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
My name is Dan Ubelar. I'm from Cabot Properties, and I represent the prospective buyer of the property at 907 East Laraway Road. Between last night and tonight, we've seen and heard a lot of passion and emotion on both sides of several issues that have been presented. To be honest, I love it and I respect it. Please understand how much we as a developer, landlord, and neighbor truly care about the safety of our communities in which we do business. We take great pride in maintaining safe, high-quality buildings that create jobs and revenue for places like Joliet, excuse me, and protect the safety of our tenants and visitors while on site, as well as others in the vicinity. My objective tonight is to strictly speak to facts and the code of the law, and it's my intention to set emotion aside. The subject site was marketed for sale as an opportunity to construct an industrial building of up to roughly 800,000 square feet. This site plan option is shown here on Exhibit A. As you're aware, the property is zoned for industrial as a permitted use. Infrastructure was put in place by the current owner, including utilities, sidewalks, street lighting, and most importantly, the widening and upgrading of both Laraway Road and Rowell Avenue along the frontage of this property to a standard that can accommodate heavy trucks. Additionally, in 2017, engineering plans were approved by the city to mass grade the site, and shortly after, a building pad was constructed to prepare the site for a development such as shown on Exhibit A. When we at Cabot started looking at the site, we recognized right away that going with Exhibit A would be the easiest route from a development standpoint. As was stated by the city attorney and city manager last night, this option would be entitled to go straight to permit, bypassing any public hearing, plan commission, or city council consideration. Cabot has made our living with smaller, more specialized buildings which cater to smaller tenant sizes. These types of buildings are important to a healthy submarket as they typically create opportunities for higher paying, more technical and skilled labor jobs, both in the office and warehousing components. And this development will utilize 100% union labor during construction. The inventory in this market indicates an extremely high demand for such buildings, yet an extremely low supply of them. Obviously, we did not take the easy route, and we've proposed to subdivide the lot into two smaller parcels on which to construct two smaller buildings, as shown here on Exhibit B. When we met with city staff early on, it was made very clear to us that the city and community were very sensitive to traffic and specifically truck traffic. The proposed subdivision to construct smaller buildings was a direct solution to address those concerns which we have heard, we acknowledge, and have attempted to alleviate with this alternative site plan. As our professional traffic study indicates, the proposed two-building scenario figures to generate several hundred total vehicle trips less per day than the single-building cross-dock option on Exhibit A. Further, the proposed two-building option will generate less than half of the daily truck traffic as the Exhibit A site plan would. This has been confirmed by our highly respected traffic consultant and our engineers. These are the facts. Last night, there were words such as compromise and alternative solutions suggested by both members of the community as well as council. That is exactly what's here before you tonight. What I can offer you is that our proposed site plan sacrifices more than 20% of the total buildable area on this site, which reduces our annual rental income by almost $1 million annually. This significant compromise allows us to collectively achieve a reduction in truck traffic by more than 50% of what could otherwise be built by right without a risk of public opposition. To be honest, when we discussed this plan with staff at first, it was very well received due to these exact reasons. In addition to the foregoing, our proposed design disperses traffic into and out of the site more efficiently and safely by adding the proposed curb cuts onto Rowell Avenue. An attempt to limit traffic onto Rowell as it currently exists will only create backups onto Laraway Road and an unacceptable bottleneck situation for those trying to enter and exit this property and the property next door through a single access point on Laraway. So to close, I'd like to emphasize that the proposed development does and will conform in all aspects with the existing zoning and subdivision regulations within the city of Joliet. We are not seeking any relief, variances, or deviation from the code of ordinances. Being sensitive to the truck traffic that is permitted and will inevitably use this site, we've proposed a solution that decreases truck traffic by more than 50% of what it has already been approved to handle, at the expense of conceding 20% of the rentable square footage and rental income that could be realized while creating the safest possible regional traffic flow for the local commuters. Again, this was all reiterated last night by the city manager's staff report, as well as the city attorney, Mr. Greenberg's legal interpretation of the binding annexation agreement from 2004. Respectfully, I ask that when voting, you view this project through the lens of the law and note the efforts we have taken to reduce the impact of truck traffic on the surrounding roads. Thank you for your time.
Question, Mayor.
Sure.
So what we discussed a little earlier is off the table, is that correct?
Specifically, the turnaround?
Yes.
Tom and I talked. We are absolutely open to working with the city on a solution. It's our engineer's perspective or opinion that the existing right-of-way on Rowell Avenue would not accommodate the dimensions needed to put in a physical turnaround. We would be open to, if the city had a plan to find a location that worked for a turnaround, we would be open to discussions about dedicating right-of-way on our side of the road to make that happen. Based on conversations with our engineer, I think it only happens if you get the same cooperation from IKEA. There's not enough right-of-way on our property to do the whole thing. I think if you could get both neighbors together to cooperate, we're willing to work with you. I can't promise that IKEA will pick up the phone, but we will try. We will try.
Well, would you give us time to try that and do a table for 2 weeks and see if we can go with IKEA and
we're
go
more
for
than
that
open
far?
to continuing to work with you throughout design. This is going to be under construction for a year. We'd have to work with you concurrently with construction. As long as the city was open to doing an ongoing, in-process plan change, a modification, we can work with you there. But our due diligence period runs out next week. We're set to close very shortly after that. We're facing winter. We need to get in the ground to maintain schedule. So I don't think we have time to table it. But like I said, we are more than willing to work with you. I think it's a no. I think it can.
If I could interrupt, and you can rely on Greg, obviously.
Can you go to the microphone? Because no.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any solution in that regard, and I think it would have to be pretty creative. I trust Greg a lot. I had called him weeks earlier on this. Would be out of the portion of the plat, and it would simply be a dedication from that plat. Correct, Greg?
Yeah, I believe so. There are truck turnarounds off the public right-of-way at a couple locations in the city. There's one down on Millsdale Road near the Center Point property. I guess it'd be just east of Brandon Road. And there are some proposed as part of the North Point development, but again, those are off the public right-of-way, so there would have to be some accommodation of a right-of-way. It would either be off the right-of-way on private property in an easement, or as the petitioners have stated, it'd have to be right-of-way dedicated from the applicant as well as probably IKEA. Without looking at it in a detailed manner, it's hard to say at this point, but it would be possible, but it would not fit in the existing right-of-way.
But it would come from our plat as a simple dedication from the city. If something
potentially, yes. Yeah.
The other thing, Councilman Quellman, is, and I wouldn't put Greg on the spot here, you'd have to stop. You have traffic flowing through and you have a turnaround. So those two things are inconsistent. There would have to be some interesting design to get it to work safely. But certainly the future owner, would be open to doing that from portion of the plat. For them, it's a dedication, the entrance isn't gonna go away and it would work, so.
I understand. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Greg?
Sure.
Getting creative. The problem that I see in talking to some of the residents earlier is that when they see a truck turn down Rowell Avenue from Laraway Road and they're not going into this complex, where are they gonna go? They're only gonna go down Rowell, which is absolutely prohibited. So is there something creative we can do with IKEA and with this group to come up with a way so those truckers have a way around? Because that's the biggest problem I got. That street does not handle trucks like this. And with all due respect, I believe you've done the best you can. We're tied to a knot that was knotted up in 2004. There was a memorandum done in 06 that the residents heard that said there will be no trucks on Rowell Avenue. It was not baked in. So here we are stuck with something that we're all stuck with that we had nothing to do with. Nor did you, except you came and you're gonna write us to the letter of the law. I respect that, but somewhere along the line, this city, this developer, maybe IKEA have to come up with a plan to make sure that those trucks that don't belong coming down Rowell Avenue don't realize, oh, that truck went in there, but I can't. What do we do? I mean, because this is the problem we're gonna have with the residents, with the school, and with Rowell Avenue. They can't afford to have those trucks running down them. So I'm asking you, Greg, would there be enough land there to be creatively figure out a way to force those trucks to turn around safely and get them back to the other end of Rowell and Laraway instead of going down Rowell Avenue? Because I see a lot of problem with this.
So, as I kind of previously stated, there are truck turnarounds. There's an existing one on Millsdale Road. It's on private property off the right-of-way. There is some proposed, as part of the North Point development, again, they're off the roadway and the right-of-way. I guess it would be possible to do it for trucks northbound, coming towards this property, but if they come off Route 52 southbound, that portion of the road is outside the city. And we would have no real way to control traffic coming from the north, which would still go by the residential areas and the school. There would have to be something placed up at Route 52, and I don't know who controls that property, and it's also not inside the city.
I was made aware when I talked to Chief Evans earlier, there are cameras, somewhat like a flock camera, that detects a truck in the wrong place. It detects the size and the weight. It just knows that that truck shouldn't be there. And now you've got an electronic way to police those roads. They have nothing to do with what comes in from the north end of Rowell Avenue, but there's a lot to do with what comes in from the south end of Rowell that, oh boy, I can't turn in here. That's not my load space. I got to keep going straight because we offer them no alternative. And that's where the rub falls for me is now we've created two trucks turn in the same place. Truck A knows that this is where I'm going. Truck B says, oh boy, what do I do? He's going to go illegally down Rowell Avenue. The north end of it, we will figure that out. We have to have truck enforcement, but this just creates a problem that I see that, and you know, I know you're in the letter of the law. I can't disagree with that. But is there a way to team up with this team and IKEA and ask everybody for a détente on how to get this thing to keep trucks from piggybacking down Rowell Avenue then?
Yeah, and I think a turnaround would potentially be a solution, but we'd have to work with the applicant on.
My question to you, is there enough land between IKEA and the applicant to be able to create this turnaround?
I don't know the answer to that without taking a deeper dive into the plans. In the existing right-of-way, the answer is no. There would have to be an expansion of the right-of-way or an easement or something provided off the existing right-of-way, off the roadway to allow that to happen.
And Mayor, I think it's been a while probably since Greg and staff looked at the actual plat that was approved. The actual access entrance, if it's used, may accommodate, and certainly the owner would not have a problem with that. It's their access, whether it's widened or turned, wouldn't make a difference. But that's going forward because this is a solution for other reasons that's going to require some work.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that we could look at tonight and be able to tell you what would work. We'd have to get a proposal and review it from the applicant's engineer.
We're absolutely willing to work with you on a creative solution to figure this out. In terms of timing, we would prefer to, to take the vote tonight and work with you guys and your engineering department on a concurrent basis with the project and figure out a design that works, and we can, find a way to construct it before project completion. So.
It sounds like the developer really wants to do the right thing. So 2 weeks to figure it out, if it's a possibility to come to a compromise, is nothing. If you want to do the right thing, and I know that every member of this council wants to do the right thing. So I'd like to motion to table for 2 weeks.
But Councilman, if
Thank
I
you.
could ask you, if you could ask
can't continue
Greg,
the conversation,
who's had
Terry.
years
She's made a
of
motion to table.
experience with engineering, he has to contact the IKEA, they have to do engineering. 2 weeks is, even if they weren't busy, which they are, is not gonna come close to coming up with a solution.
I made a motion to table. I
Yes,
think
you did.
that's on Larry.
Mayor, again, just want to clarify, I think the creative solution that's being talked about is worth exploring. It's certainly going to involve property that lies outside of what Cabot is intending to buy and what the city has within a dedicated right-of-way of Rowell.
Mayor,
So
I have a
it's going
request.
to
Can we
involve
entertain her motion? to
another-
table? We got to do it properly.
going
And
to-
then if it
it's going to-
fails, then we can go back to conversation because we're going to take a vote. Can we
It's up to
entertain
the
that?
chair of the meeting to decide what is and isn't in order. Unless there's a point of order which is ruled on and then overruled by the entire legislative body.
I thought a table was permitted at any time,
Okay,
according to Robert's Rules of Order.
that's not what we're talking about. He interrupted the city manager while the
No,
city
no,
manager was
she made a
talking.
motion to table, Mr. Greenberg. She's made a motion. It's on the table to table.
Can she
So we're
pull the
waiting for a
motion for the
second.
time being so we can continue to discuss this? Pull your motion for the time being. We'll bring it back up.
Okay, I'm pulling my motion because the chair of this body asked me to pull the motion.
I'm sorry.
I think we're just gonna have further discussion because I would tell you right now that, we're not all in agreement that we have to follow the letter of law. The letter of law is that we have to allow you to build the one big building, correct? So we're here to talk about us allowing you to build two smaller buildings. So we both got kind of a little pressure on each other. You have a timeline that you insist can't be extended, and I understand how contracts are. I understand weather, I understand building. But we also have a real big problem here that's gonna exacerbate with these trucks, truck B not being able to turn in. And, maybe this should have been discussed earlier, and I apologize it hasn't, but this is the problem we have. And I'm making it a we problem. So we can deny this. To the letter of the law, you'd have to go back to the big building. I understand that that would produce more truck traffic. Can you give us some breathing room so that we can at least explore the opportunity?
We're willing to explore the opportunity. My question would be, how much time do we need to explore the feasibility study that it would take to engineer such a turnaround? Because we don't have all the time in the world.
Greg, how long would it take if we put all of our energy towards doing the circumference we need? And I would meet with whoever runs IKEA. I would say, look, this is one of those community service issues, because I can't see this going through any other way than a way that we can help create safety for the residents and have them get their project done.
Well, I think staff could review it fairly quickly. We'd need to see a proposal from the applicant's engineer to take a look at, and then.
It's us, we're asking him to do it, so I don't know if we should have the applicant's engineer do it, or we have an engineering staff or team that could do it.
We do. This is not exactly what we deal with on a daily basis. We do construction projects. We review items like this. We don't really design them.
Who's your engineer on this one?
Jacob and Hefner. He's right here.
Hey, all right. I know it's putting a little more burden on everybody, but we have to walk out of here with a good conscience, all of us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, my name is Jason Spolsky with Jacob and Hefner, and I was in front of you guys last night. And just, just to kind of reiterate, the zone that would be required for a traffic circle of this size capacity is probably within the 150-foot to 200-foot total length diameter of a traffic circle. And right now, the current right-of-way on Rowell is 80 feet. So you would be looking at another 90 feet-ish up to, and it's going to vary. There's a study, you have to do a traffic study, you have to do a little bit more analysis, but with right-of-way take, that's what would it come down to.
So you're looking at 45 feet from each side.
From each side, you'd split that, right, theoretically.
Is that out there? Is that out there, Greg, do you think?
I think that's the challenge, Mayor, is to allude to or reconfirm before, that we're hearing from that side, and as well as Greg's comments, we don't have right-of-way. So the creative solution here that's being asked to be explored would require there to be land from IKEA as the owner on the west side of Rowell. So not that couldn't be a possibility, but that's a variable that, sitting here right now, we don't have control over, yes, no, or what the timing of that would look like or the cost would look like.
So I'm going to ask one more time. If we have enough land, and if we could be so bold to go to IKEA and ask them if they would give up 50 or 60 feet of their side, and you could give up 50 or 60 feet of your side and take the 80, we'd have enough land. Is that correct?
Conceptually, I'd say yes.
Are we American or Americans? I mean, I'm just looking for a solution, because I don't think if this was brought today and this Rowell Avenue wasn't baked in 2004, I don't think we could agree to have allowed those trucks to traverse down even that space of the road, because, again, that truck following that first truck will have nowhere to go but the wrong place. So if you can see the pressure that we have on trying to do the right thing, I'm just trying to figure out a way to get this thing righted.
Mayor?
Sure, Pat.
Rodney, the ComEd overhead lines are right there at the end of that property. Is that something that ComEd has ever negotiated with, or is there a strong point that this is our land and we're not going to let you have the turnaround underneath us?
ComEd does issue license agreements for there to be uses within their property. That's not an undoable thing. I couldn't speak to whether they'd be accommodating of it here. Typically, we see that in the form of bike paths or pedestrian ways, or we've seen applications where it's been recreational space. So I can't think of an example where it's been essentially public right-of-way licensing for truck turnaround, but so same variables. We're at the creative thinking stage here with variables we don't control.
Overhead lines, obviously, which would be open and easy, but it's their property, and I don't know if they're going to give it up.
So I've been to the Bruton's house, Julie Alexander's house, as 18-wheeler trucks are coming down that road, hitting every branch of the tree, and God knows what else. It is really, and I have a video of it, it is really a problem in that area. And I know Jan's been there too. Jan spends time on the east side.
So in other words, right here, yeah, if we blocked it out on our plat, then it could be a future dedication where they could use it because they live with that.
Yeah.
So Mayor, again, the applicant is more than happy to try to help Joliet with a solution. As you said, and Greg knows, this wouldn't have gotten approved. Joliet doesn't like cul-de-sacs, so it's amazing to me. I think the thought process, that road was gonna go through, but that creates problems. The applicant has no problem putting onto its current plat an area for future dedication, to give time for Joliet to work the solution, go to IKEA. That area would be a future dedication at Joliet's request. Would like to cooperate, can put it on the plat, get it approved next time. I've been involved, no offense to the engineers, they're smarter, it takes them forever. It's not IKEA. You could probably call IKEA tomorrow, they'd say, sure, chop it out. we're willing to say that right, chop that part right out if that's where the turnaround's gonna be. So it isn't the unwillingness here, it's the long period of time for the engineering and feasibility, as Rodney said, having watched projects for decades, takes a long time. But we can put it on the plat, so Joliet can say, we need it, we want it. And there are plats where that exists. Sometimes you call upon it, sometimes you don't. So we're willing to do that.
Agreed, we'd be willing to block that out for future taking if a design could, a feasibility study could be completed and a design could be implemented, we would be willing to give that right of way back to you guys to install a turnaround. And we'll put that on the plat.
And that's a legal, you know, unlike a special use where we can condition, that's right there on the plat, you're entitled to it.
We still need the cooperation of IKEA or any other alternative ideas, right?
Well,
I think given the dimensions of the turnaround, you would need cooperation from IKEA, but we are more than willing to cooperate and fulfill the obligation on our half of the road.
But we don't have 2 weeks, right? That's where I'm struggling.
I know.
You don't have it.
Because we're approving what's before us, what we see right here. That's what we're approving.
Right.
Not what you're promising us.
Are you suggesting we come back in 2 weeks with a
Yes,
revision
I
to
am
the plat that
suggesting
has the
that.
right of way taken out and
We'll all
dedicated?
work together. That's
Here.
what community is all about.
We'll get it
Working
done.
together, yes.
So, to be clear, I think, and I would have to trust the engineers and certainly Rodney with his experience, we can have it put onto the, Jason can put that on the plat. I'm assuming we wouldn't have to go back for a re-review, but under no circumstances would there be anything other than a hope for a future solution. Just knowing what it takes, what you guys go through. But Rodney, if we put it on the plat, we wouldn't be pushed back to any other process, correct? We just amend the plat and come back here with the dedication shown on.
I think under the recommendation of the council, if that's a direction, we can make that minor change to the plat. But to be clear, then all you're presenting, Mr. Osterberger, is that you would amend the plat that's before the council to show a reservation for an additional dedication of right-of-way based on an assumption that if we got whatever other part of right-of-way was needed from some other landowner or entity that could implement that, right? So it's a line on a plat, it's not the solution, just so council's clear.
Right,
So
and
that's
I'm
what you're
not saying
proposing.
If we could come up with a solution, Greg would tell you right now, in 2 weeks, he will not have a solution that is bulletproof.
Right, in 2 weeks, we won't have an answer, you know, from an adjoining or opposite side of the road landowner. So is that an acceptable approach?
Mayor? Sure. If I hear you correctly, Mr. Osterberger, the question, hey, we're willing to do it, not just give our word like you were saying just a minute ago. All right, we're willing to, you know, go along with the table and then put it in writing. You can have this property for that turnaround if IKEA agrees, right?
It will be on the plat,
Right.
Councilman Huggins.
So the question is, what if IKEA, I know everybody seems to be confident IKEA will say yes. What if they say no?
Right.
That's the question. Is that the question you're asking?
Absolutely. And look, from a proper engineering standpoint, maybe the turnaround belongs at the north end of IKEA's. Dan's not worried about dedicating a square box in the corner of the property. That's
No, I get
fine.
that. I get that. But the question that
I'm not
seems
sure
to-
that is a solution.
The question that's not being answered direct is, and I think that's what Rodney is saying is, okay, you're compromising and saying, hey, we'll give you the land. What if IKEA says no? What is this council's opinion if IKEA says no? It's not their fault that it can't be installed. It would then be IKEA saying no. They're willing to give their portion of the property, but what if IKEA says no, leave us alone? We don't know what IKEA is going to say with 100% certainty.
Right. And this is a creative way to address it because, again, at this point, you know, we don't have a legal basis to put a demand on them as the property owner to do that with somebody else's property. this creates an opportunity for us to have that solution explored if there is a willing landowner across the street, but the burden would be on the city at that point to, convince IKEA of what's needed on their side of the street. And whatever that geometry looks like is what we don't know, because it's going to impact their improvements, their existing truck parking area, their existing entrance, et cetera. So whether or not they could or would or will accommodate it, that's a variable we have no answer to today.
And to be clear, our only leverage is on this presentation, saying no to a subdivision versus if we say no to that subdivision, I don't know that they will, I don't know that they would succeed. They could find another developer or tenant to build it like that, and they don't need our permission.
Yeah, we are having a conversation that is very creatively outside of what's actually before council for consideration. What's
Right.
before you for consideration.
But
is
to be
merely
clear, if they
the
wanted to-
subdivision plat, and does that conform to your ordinances?
If we take away the subdivision, let's say we vote no on it, that's gone. And if they can be lucky enough to find a developer who, a purchaser to do that, they don't need our permission, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hug, that's what it would be, because the city of Joliet doesn't allow 2 buildings on one property, so
And
that's what it would be.
it would be that, and there would be no way.
Right, and I understand
to
that, I'm just
enforce
saying
the
that,
turnaround.
then we would have no leverage to be creative at that point because they are following the agreement.
That's the knot that was tied in 2004.
Right.
We don't have a choice on it.
Right.
Even then, we'd try and find an alternative if that came back. So I'm just trying to find a way to save Rowell Avenue from the issue
Understood. And we're totally willing to give whatever it takes on our property and our side of the road to find a solution that makes the community happy. If the vote tonight is to approve the plat with a condition that we add the dedication in the future and then have to bring that back for final approval, that's fine. However we want to do it, we're willing to paper it, we're willing to document it, however it needs to get approved. We'll work with y'all.
So if that's an acceptable solution to the majority of the council, I think then the action tonight would be to still have the matter tabled. And again, we'll use this discussion as direction to the applicant as to how we're expecting them to modify the plat. And then when they brought it back to you in 2 weeks, we'll show that the language and/or line or however we creatively address the reservation of right-of-way issue. And there's a number of ways we could do that, I think, so.
But without a vote tonight other than to table.
Correct.
Right. Okay, got it.
Mayor, if we could have Mr. Greenberg explain what we're under here, that we are bound by this agreement because back not only in 2004, but in 2006, when the ordinance was put together, and we all said no more trucks on Rowell. And it should have been put in the ordinance, and the city manager at the time said, oh, no, the city manager memo is okay. Is that correct, Mr. Greenbow? What happened?
Well, there's a lot to say that. First, addressing your last point first, a city manager memo is not okay. It has to be a formal action taken by the city council, which is not just saying, okay, the city manager said this, so now this is law.
Correct,
but
if I may, okay, I wanted it to put in an ordinance. He said, oh, no, you don't need to. The memo from me is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to supersede this years ago because I take responsibility. I said, no trucks on Rowell, but I was not told the truth.
But even if you had brought it up in 2006, the council had lost the ability to say no trucks on Rowell Avenue after it approved the annexation agreement in 2004.
But this was 2006 later on. But
Yeah.
regardless, so if we don't vote for these people, okay, we legally have to vote for this project. Now, they've come a long way. I know the mayor has intervened. I've tried to intervene, and we're trying to come up with a solution. Susanna has done so as well. If we say no, they can sell this property and they can build whatever they want on it. But these folks now are willing to work with us because we have no other alternative, unfortunately. We have no other alternative. But they're kind enough to listen to the mayor, they listen to me and our architects and whatever. So we have to, they've come a long way, and they don't have to, but they're going to do so. And I really appreciate that, but I just wanted to explain to everybody, regardless whether they say yes or no, and they sell that property, we're stuck anyway. We're stuck anyway, and it could be worse. So I appreciate them coming to the table and talking to us and really coming up with a compromise when they don't have to. They can say, no, forget it. This is the legal right. I'm going to do this. Forget all of you. But they're not. They're trying to work with us to help all of you. And that's all I wanted to make clear, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, look at this. To make the modifications to the plat design, which would allow for this, 40 or 50 feet or so, how long do you expect those changes would take you?
Jason will have it done tonight.
Right.
All right.
We know the construction won't be done tonight, but the design will be done tonight.
The plat, the changes to the plat, what do you think, this week?
Yeah, I'll come up this week. Sorry. Just because there will be some back and forth, because we can draw a line all day long. I could do that tonight, but we'll have some back and forth with Greg and engineering to make sure that we have, the appropriate amount that we're thinking this is going to be. So there's be a little bit of a brainstorming session with myself and Greg before we get on the plat, but then it's really just a line on a drawing that takes no time at all.
So, Mayor, I just wanted to say that if it takes less than 2 weeks, I think they've shown good faith in trying to be cooperative with us. If it helps you at all, because I understand you're under a bit of a time crunch yourself. I don't know how the rest of the council feels about calling a special meeting just for this agenda item.
Sure.
It should
I'd
be
be willing
it
to.
should
I'd
be
do
quick.
that.
I'm on board.
May I ask one question? I agree with you, but are we able to make the modification where we could say we would approve it with the exception, or with however we put that, once the modification has been made? If there's no modification made, then we go back to it not being accepted. Can we do that? Can we vote on it that way?
Conditional approval?
Yes,
or-
a conditional, thank you.
I'm not sure I quite followed the question, so help me.
So can we do the vote, but the vote will be with the condition that there'll be a modification for the
Vote
turnaround?
tonight with the.
Yes.
Yes.
So that there wouldn't have to be a special meeting as long as that happened, or is that not possible?
Is that
If they will
legal,
submit,
Mr.
if they will
Cranford?
submit a modification to the plat within 2 weeks, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but I think,
A future dedication to propose or try to see if it's not gonna be a promise that that's gonna happen, they still need to, again, there's still a lot of other factors, right? So with the modification, the plat, like I said, not having to call a special meeting, we would approve it with the condition that within 2 weeks, they're gonna submit the plat with that carved out space for the potential of a turnaround with the IKEA and everything else comes into play, that they're gonna be working with that, so that we can still vote on it today yet. That caveat has to be in there.
Can you do that or not really?
It's pretty dicey.
Okay,
Yeah,
well then.
I think
Uh,
that's
just,
Special
just
meeting
because
thought.
I'm not sure that at the table here, any of us are gonna be able to come up with the specific language that's gonna be added to the plat that you're approving to satisfy
Okay.
this.
Special meeting it is. More time together. Quality.
and I think there's
We love each other.
a
Come on.
scenario that ideally we could have those situations, but then the condition has to be very specific.
Okay.
Because when you're leaving it at that point, then you said, yes, if this condition is met, and then we would have to verify administratively that the condition was met. We still don't know where this line's going to be represented, drawn, or what the proposed language is. So I think that's why it's kind of, as Todd said, dicey to
Without
condition
clearly
that.
defining
It
what that
leaves a lot
condition is.
of latitude in the hands
Okay.
of the staff that you did not see, so.
So the sooner the better. We have the special meeting.
So I vote to table. I motion to table.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to table Council Memo 474-23, ordinances associated with the re-subdivision of Lot 3 in Laraway Distribution Center Unit 2 to be brought back when a modified plat is available and ready. So, Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
No.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried 8-1. Councilmemo 474-23 was tabled.
So we're saying, though, we're willing, the sooner you get it ready, we'll make it happen.
Yes.
We'll meet.
Next week?
We don't have to wait 2 weeks to meet,
No,
so.
yes.
Next week is that, do you think? I didn't want to speak for my engineer who's actually going to draw it.
He's
so
like, I gotta go.
I got to look over at him for that one, so.
I get to work right away.
As a council, we are all willing.
Okay.
Quick question, do we need 2 days in order to put this? into a special-
Besides whatever procedure it is to call special meeting, you need 48 hours advance notice under the Open Meetings Act.
So.
We can't do it tomorrow if he works all night.
So, sorry, just to be clear, so there would be a special meeting, we're saying as early as next week. And it would be 2 days after theoretically we have the plat submitted?
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
And we have to talk to IKEA as well, don't we?
Just a clarification, it might not be 2 days after if it's submitted, depending on staff. Once staff is accepting of the solution as presented, then we would have to publish the agenda. That requires 48 hours notice.
Gotcha.
Right. 48 hours from when the clerk publishes the agenda for the special meeting. So, and since it's a special meeting, we have a little extra work to do to find out what everyone's availability and schedule is and get that coordinated. So, but we'll do everything we can to accommodate it, so.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
No, we
your
appreciate
patience.
you guys. Thank you so much for coming to the table and actually compromising and caring about the residents as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Councilmemo 475-23, an ordinance amending the 2023 annual budget for the City Council Chambers Upgrade Project. It's recommended this item be tabled to the October 17th council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to table Councilmemo 475-23 to the October 17th council meeting. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Abara?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Councilmemo 475-23 is tabled to the October 17th council meeting. Next is Councilmemo 476-23, ordinance amending provisions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Joliet relating to the Inspector General. It's recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor. As I brought up yesterday, I'll be brief again. I asked how this came to be and who the complainant is. The complainant, from what I got from our corporate counsel, it's really not a complaint, it's an opinion. It's a letter that was written to the city of Joliet, basically from the state's attorney's office, claiming that this ordinance is unconstitutional. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There is an ongoing case in the Will County Courthouse specifically addressing what we're talking about here tonight. It's Joliet Inspector General versus the Illinois State Police. So that's an ongoing issue. So to act on this, let me back up. There was also a former councilman here that had a suit going in Grundy County. That was dismissed under the same topic that we're talking about now. So for us to act, I don't understand what the hurry is here. I mean, I find it very peculiar that out of the 2,000 ordinances we have in the city of Joliet, this is the one that we're gonna address today. I think being responsible should wait and see what the outcome is. And see what the judge rules on, Judge Anderson. I know there's all kinds of opinions, and I respect everybody's opinion. Case law, there's case law that's saying it's unconstitutional, there's case law saying it is constitutional. But for us to sit up here and make an ordinance decision, an ordinance change of this magnitude, I think we need to wait. And the mayor, you made a great point. There is some language in there that really could be addressed. And I agree with you. You brought it up. I was unaware of the pacing and all that stuff. You're absolutely right on that. But I think to act on this right now, I think we should wait. That's just my opinion.
So are you asking for a table then, or what?
I'm waiting to see if anybody wants to comment.
It's comment time.
Yeah,
You know, we've got a first and a second on the motion. And I just want to say that all we're trying to do is write the ordinance back to according to the law of the state of Illinois based on a Supreme Court decision. So it was written wrong a few years ago, but we lived by that wrong ordinance and we ran things by the wrong. All we're trying to do is put it back to where it's the correct verbiage of the ordinance, which gives it direction by the city manager. You know, first it was the mayor only. Then it was in the last meeting in the mayor's tenure was the mayor and the city council. And both of those were wrong. So I think all we're trying to do is make it correct and put it back to the city manager with, you know, I mean, the city manager works for us, let's face it. No decisions are going to be made, but we're correcting the ordinance based on Supreme Court decisions. And that's the only reason. I mean, I've been looking at a lot of the things that have been going on in the city, and there's things like this that may have been done wrong, and all we're trying to do is make them right. So it's not really a huge change. It's just correcting the ordinance to what Supreme Court has jurisdictions.
Thank you. I mean, again, it's our attorneys, our corporate counsel's opinion. Yes, there is. Nobody in here is wearing, that I know, is wearing a black robe to make that decision. I understand that there is Supreme Court rulings, but there's also some that there's challenges going on. I don't see what the rush is today. We can wait and see what the outcome may be at the Will County Courthouse. There's already been one, and it may go further than that. I don't know. But there isn't a formal complaint that our ordinance is wrong at all. There's opinions from other outside entities saying it's unconstitutional. And again, everybody knows I'm not an attorney, but I could tell that this does not, I'm all in favor of getting this right. At this point, it does not seem right.
Mayor?
Yeah, Larry?
You know, and I'm trying to be brief. Unfortunately, I was not able to be here yesterday, too. I'll start out by acknowledging there was an exchange between Councilwoman Quillman and our corporation counsel, at which point she had asked what the difference is between the council approving and choosing to approve his contract with his firm versus the IG. And we can certainly go back to the video if I'm not remembering verbatim, and I believe our corporation counsel said, well, myself, you know, this position and the IG's position are corporate officers as outlined or required in the statute. I know that the position of corporation counsel is a statute position. IG isn't. We created the IG in 2015. Now, some people may mesh IG with auditor, with the relatively new state requirement for an auditor, but no, this position was created by the council. Now, I've had conversations with Mr. Greenberg, both via email and on the phone, and he certainly has dug his heels in, and I respect his opinion. Certainly, I think that, I think, Mr. Greenberg, am I right in using this term? Oftentimes, you have to decide how to view it in the best light of a plaintiff, or, you know, the judge will, you know, will look at a motion to dismiss in the best, at the case, in the best light of the person who's bringing the case. You should be looking at the best light. For us, is my opinion, but I also understand you got to go with what you believe the 1974 decision said, even though it says nothing about IGs, it talks about municipal officers. Now, yesterday, the councilwoman also, she got a sarcastic comment from you on it, said that she had talked to another attorney and she didn't want to divulge. And I have no problem divulging. And you said, well, I'm willing to put my face and my name on it. I can't, you know, worry about somebody who's anonymous. It was the previous corporation counsel, who is now still a professionally paid corporation counsel up in Naperville, who actually opposes your view. And you're used to attorneys arguing, right? Not agreeing on an interpretation. And that's exactly what I think Councilman Clement is saying. Since I know you're 100% confident in your interpretation as you apply that, but the fact that you have another qualified attorney, just as qualified as you, saying, no, I would present it. If I was still your counsel, I'd be defending your ordinance. Why are we attacking ourselves, kind of suing ourselves in the submission, if in fact nobody has actually, it's been 8 years roughly, a little less than 8 years since we created this position. Mayor, you made a good point. There's some sloppy language in the most, obviously a subcontractor is not going to be absorbed in the legal department. That was done at the time, I believe, to attract a first candidate, which was a member of the state's attorney back in 2015, which is Chris Regis, but he wouldn't be willing to come do that if the council could vote to get rid of him at any time. So, you know, whether that should or shouldn't have been done, that certainly needs to be cleaned up. Right now, I agree with Councilman Clement that there's no reason to move forward. Now, I will also say, I'm gonna say the quiet part out loud. I'm gonna acknowledge that 800-pound gorilla in the corner. We have a very controversial investigation that's still being litigated that has to do with former police personnel in the command and a current councilman and former council members and so forth. And this isn't just cleaning up the language. This is saying the interpretation of our attorney is this, so let's completely redo it and give the hiring power to the city manager. Ron, are you committed? Whoever wants to choose a new IG moving forward, you know, however it's done, I'm not really going to focus on that. Are you committed to allow the current IG, if it goes into your hands, to continue until the conclusion of any open investigation without opening new investigations? Are you willing to go on the record and commit to that? Is that a no?
I don't know that I could provide an answer for that today. I don't really have a clear understanding on the details of what those investigations are, so.
Well, now, I can't remember if it was 2 weeks ago at the meeting or if it was the meeting before that. We had a conversation, we had several, about the IG, and I had said that staff should reach out to the IG and bring him in executive session. That never happened. So you would have an understanding if somebody had reached out to him and brought him in. So I do think if we make a motion at some point to table, that would be wise. There is no hurry, and then we can bring him in, and we, you know, right now you're saying, I don't know if I'm going to kill a very controversial investigation. One that implicates criminal activity, not just because of our IG's opinion, but the Illinois State Police opinion, as discussed by the retired lieutenant of the ethics. What is it called? The commission. Joe, do you remember?
I do not.
But that investigated it. It's an open, ongoing investigation waiting to be ruled on. I agree with Councilman Clement. What's the hurry? You know, I'm sure, I have a feeling, I don't know, I'm not sure about anything anymore, but I have a feeling I'm gonna fail. If there's no other comments, I'm going to make a motion at table until you can bring yourself up to speed. You just said you're not up to speed.
We have a motion and a second.
Yes, I didn't do it yet. To bring it up to speed.
You didn't second it?
No, I think there was a motion and second.
There was a motion and a second, correct?
Yes, there's a motion.
Well, I don't want to kill, I'm going to make a
now we
motion
have
to
a
table.
vote.
But right, table can happen at any time. That kills that. But I don't want to stop anybody else from, you know, making a statement yet.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying, Mayor?
Sure.
So you're saying you're not up to speed on any or all of the current open investigations. So yeah, you need to be brought up to speed as the city manager.
I did meet with the current IG about his current investigations. You're asking me about a lawsuit. You're asking me a speculative question. I would say today what we're here to do is review the ordinance. You have the opinion of the Interim Corporation Council as to why this ordinance should be passed. That's the only thing that's here before you today.
Rod, what lawsuit am I asking you about? I'm asking you about an open
Larry, can I
investigation
interrupt
that's being
1 minute?
Absolutely.
All we're asking you to do is correct the ordinance. There's nothing about removing the Inspector General. That was talked about last night. All this is doing is correcting a wrong ordinance that was written a long time ago. And I'll give you a conversation about the conversation I had with the IG. Right now, he's pursuing the orders that they can subpoena anybody to want as an Inspector General. So he's doing that on our behalf.
Right.
And we're not going to stop that.
You're making that commitment, but if the ability
Here's
to...
the other side of it. We're waiting for Judge Anderson, right? So let's just pass the ordinance, and then Judge Anderson will probably have a ruling on this, but it doesn't affect that this ordinance was written wrong 8 years ago, rewritten wrong again, and all we're trying to do is correct the ordinance. We're not sitting here talking about changing the IG or changing what he's doing. We're talking about correcting a wrong ordinance. That's what we're voting
Right, but
on.
it's not been established in court that the IG we created is illegal. I understand that Mr. Greenberg has an opinion, but we have other attorneys, including our most recently departed city attorney, that says, no, that's got to be determined by court. That's silent in that.
It's not in court to discuss whether or
Right, so
not
why are we
the
changing
IG's
it?
ordinance is wrong.
So why are we changing it? Nobody is challenging
Because
it.
it's done wrong. I'm challenging it. It's done wrong. The Supreme Court, Peak House versus whatever, said...
The Oak Lawn city attorney, which was a constitutional statutory position.
Okay.
The IG is not. So that ruling, which only the Oak Lawn portion of the ruling applies to us, because I think it was Berwyn was the other half of it, but they were an aldermanic. We're not aldermanic. And in there, The debate between learned attorneys is, what's the definition of a municipal official? Is a subcontractor. Does that mean that when we approve RFQs and we bring on such and such a engineering firm, that during their duration, we shouldn't be voting on it? Rod, the city manager, not Rod, the city manager should hire them, and they are municipal officers? No. That lawsuit is silent, other than interpretation. Nothing, we certainly wouldn't have this debate if we were talking about Mr. Greenberg's position. That's exactly what was stated in that ruling, as well as the multiple times, more general reference to municipal officials. Is a subcontractor a municipal official? It hasn't been established.
You're going way over my head.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer, and neither are you.
No, but I talked.
But there's a motion and a second for a vote. Do you have a comment?
If we could have
There's a
either the
motion to table on
city
it.
manager.
I haven't
or-
done that yet. I haven't done that yet.
There's no motion, no.
I will in a second. I just don't want to kill the conversation.
It was a motion and a second to vote, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So if we could have either the city manager or corporation council actually read here the modifications to the ordinance that are up for vote, because it's actually quite brief. It's like less than 20 lines of text. So if we could just have that written.
The ordinance strikes, under the appointment section, the clause that says the mayor with the advice and consent of the city council. It inserts the city manager. So that section now reads, the city manager should be authorized to appoint an inspector general. The next striking is, since we've, established the inspector general doesn't have to be necessarily an attorney, it says the inspector general shall have the following minimum qualifications, which is already in the ordinance: not convicted of a felony, has a minimum of 10 years federal, state, or local experience as a law enforcement officer, attorney, or judge. That's in there already. But since that's already in there, we're striking the words, the corporation counsel and any lawyers assisting him shall be admitted to practice law in the courts of this state, because we're no longer requiring, and we haven't for a while, that the inspector general be a member of the corporation counsel's office. We are striking the language that gives the procedure for the mayor and the city council to remove the inspector general, and replacing it with the sentence, the inspector general may be removed by the city manager. And finally, we're adding a section that says that right now the inspector general delivers reports to the mayor and the city council regarding results of investigations. We're simply adding the city manager to the list of officials who receive reports of the inspector general. And that's it.
Are we all?
Thank you for that. Again, that is there one ruling that is an opinion. The inspector general, it's still out there. Is he a department head or division director? We don't know that yet.
Well, sir, what's important is the municipal code, which regulates the city manager form of government, says that the function of the city council should be legislative only. Regardless of whether the inspector general is an officer, employee, whatever, it is not a legislative function to hire people. You have the power of the purse, you have the power to make laws, but you don't have the power to hire and fire. The people decided it's a city manager form of government. And explicitly, your own code says the city manager shall be authorized to hire and discharge all employees to positions approved by the city council. And it exempts the deputy liquor commissioners and police officers and firefighters. So the current ordinance is not only inconsistent with state law, it's inconsistent with your own code. And it violates the prohibition that says city council members are legislators. They are not executive officers.
Mayor, if I could ask him a question here. Now, again, I think, Mr. Greenberg, you'll find I'll be accurate. And you and I did have a chain of emails, right?
Yes.
When you first. And I gave him 2 examples, just to know. That's why I say it's open for debate, and just doing it based on one attorney's opinion when other attorneys disagree. That's what judges are for. I said, no, wait a minute, let me see if I got this straight. If we create a position for a legislative liaison or individual, each council member gets a legislative assistant, we can't interview or hire our own. And so if the city manager said, hey, not you, Rod, in general, because you're not gonna be there forever, nobody is, right? I hate that Hug guy, and this guy that applied hates Hug too. I'm gonna make Hug take this guy. He goes, well, yeah, he has a right to hire for you. I said, wait a minute, what if we go in executive session because we have reports of illegal or at least unethical behavior of a city manager, and then we decide as a group that we need to get an outside, it's not an employee, the definition of employee is important. You guys parse your words quite a bit in law. Is a contractor an employee? But if we say, okay, we need to have this investigated, we might have to take action because we do hire and fire him. And I emailed you this, correct, Mr. Greenberg? Does that mean he gets to hire his own investigator? You said yes, unless you can find an exception for it. This doesn't even pass the smell test. He can have his own, he can decide who's gonna investigate his behavior. So you just said, I know the exceptions for hiring and firing police and fire, that's in state statute. That's required by the state statute with the board, right?
Yes.
How is the ordinance, if this ordinance is not correct, how is the ordinance that the mayor can hire and fire liquor commissioners? How is that correct?
Because that's in the section, Article 5 of the municipal code that says the mayor gets to be the liquor commissioner.
Right, but how does he get to hire? As a member of this council, legislative only.
No, the liquor commissioner, the mayor is always the liquor commissioner. That is an executive function that under Article 5, the city manager form of government, still gives that function to the mayor. So it's not a conflict with the statute because the form of government, city manager form of government itself, provides that the mayor is an executive official insofar as liquor issues are concerned.
And if you remember too, Mr. Greenberg, I had requested both, I think in the email as well as verbally when we talked briefly prior for you, then to you going into the legislative committee, remember? And I said, please provide the legal definition of municipal officer. And you said you don't have one ready, you'd have to look into it. Did you find one?
Yeah, I emailed it to you.
Okay, I missed that email as I've been recently, involved in other things.
Yeah, generally.
And I want it public anyways.
Okay, generally, officers are, the difference between officer and employee is an officer is a position created either by state statute or by the city council. And also there's things about, that they take an oath of office. But that's essentially the main thing.
But not all subcontractors, for instance, as I used an example earlier, an engineer from an engineering firm are municipal officers or employees, are they? They're subcontracted and they are voted on by us.
But they're recommended by the city manager. It's voted on because you have the power of the purse.
Well, actually, the way we do it now, Mr. Greenberg, is it's recommended by by Greg at our committee meeting.
Who reports to the city manager.
So again, there seems to be enough of
No, it has to do if it's over $25,000, since you guys control the purse, it has, expenditures over $25,000 have to be voted on by the city council.
And what would be your response? And again, I would appreciate no sarcasm like it happened last night, because I told you who this legal counsel is I talked to, who did represent us for 5 or 6 years. It is obvious that not every attorney who's specializing in municipal government agrees with your interpretation of that lawsuit as it applies.
And still, I can't guarantee that other attorney researched this issue. I have.
Well, she said she did, just like you telling me you did.
Right.
So we have a difference of opinion legally. That's what judges are for. That's why we should not be rushing through this. If there's no other comments, I'll make my motion now. I just don't want to cut nobody off.
I think
There's a motion on.
there's a motion
Right,
and a
but-
second to vote.
But a table is good at any time.
The motion to table.
Okay, I got
It
it.
supersedes.
So
I just don't want to cut nobody off, and so I'm not rushing into it.
Okay. There's a motion to table by Larry, right?
Not yet, because I need to check and see if anybody else wants to talk. I don't want to shut them down.
We all done? Any other comments?
Motion to table.
Second the motion.
Do you have a specific date that you'd like to table it to, or just open-ended?
It would be open-ended as it pertains to rulings of existing cases that may be directly or indirectly related, such as the IG case that's before, I believe, Judge Anderson. Am I correct? I thought he had recused himself and it had been shifted to a different judge, but I'm not sure.
I agree. I second it.
Okay. Been motioned and seconded to table Council Memo 476-23. Councilman Guerrero,
No.
Councilman Hug,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra,
No.
Councilman Mudrin,
No.
Councilwoman Coleman,
Well, to be consistent at land use, I voted no to send it to council, so because I wanted to wait till see what the court decided, so I'll have to vote no as well. Or ayes to a table, excuse me.
Councilwoman Reardon.
No.
Councilman Cardenas,
No.
Councilman Clement,
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
No.
Motion failed, 3 ayes and 6 noes.
Now we return to
Motion to
the.
approve?
I motion to approve.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 476-23, which is an ordinance amending provisions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Joliet relating to the Inspector General. Councilman Hug,
No.
Councilwoman Ibarra,
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin,
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman,
No.
Councilwoman Reardon,
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas,
Aye.
Councilman Clement,
No.
Councilman Guerrero,
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried 6-3. Moving on under resolutions, Council Memo 478-23, a resolution denying a request to designate 14 West Jefferson Street as a local historic landmark. Staff is recommending the said resolution be adopted, denying the request to designate 14 West Jefferson as a local historic landmark.
Mayor? I appreciate what you guys went through last night. I think you've all made yourself clear, so I'll make it very brief. For me, it's very simple. This is an end run for us to stop the county from managing their own business. The county is a duly and legally elected governing board. These are assets that belong to them, just like we have assets here. I understand and appreciate and respect the passion people have for this building. I don't share that passion, but it does not negate their passion. However, it's not even about, we're not here to decide whether or not it should be destroyed. That's not our decision to make. This is an end run for us to stop, handcuff the county to not follow through. They were legally, elected. If you don't like what their decision has been on this matter, then you need to vote them out. And if you do agree with them, you need to continue to support them. But I won't participate in interfering and handcuffing another legal legislative body, be it the county, be it the township, the state, school boards. We have separate governing bodies that are legally elected. That's how simple it is to me, but that's my comments. I wasn't here last night to make them. Thank you.
Mayor, as I had discussed with you earlier, and I brought this up yesterday, if we can actually, and to answer some of your questions, a lot of the county board here were earlier today in favor of making it a
I
landmark.
saw Councilman Kelly. I had it on in my car.
Okay, well,
when
I didn't know. I
driving
just want to make
there.
sure
Right.
that there are a lot of
Thank God for
Will
Channel
County
6.
people here. Anyway, just to make a long story short, I've seen all these proposals. Again, like I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday. I don't like the building. It's brutal to me. I think it's ugly, but a lot of people love it and want it. So my suggestion was, we've been seeing all these, let's see, arguments that this developer wants to do it, that developer. Okay, show me the money. Show me the money. So I would propose we table it for 2 weeks and hopefully you can come with some cash to move forward. That's my proposal. I would table it for 2 weeks till you show me the money.
Is that a motion?
Is that a motion?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought I made the motion. I motioned to table for 2 weeks till you show us the money.
There's a motion to table to the October 3rd council meeting. Is there a second?
Mayor, I'd like to ask a question first, I don't know, regarding the dates of when to table it. I don't know if that's allowed just procedurally.
Well, in 2 weeks, whenever the next council meeting is. That's 2 weeks, isn't it? Here, let me look.
My question is just regarding the process to apply for status as a historic landmark. Is there a timeline for that application? And would waiting 2 weeks put us beyond any sort of deadlines that they need to, or effectively, would tabling this to 2 weeks later still allow for us to make that designation? Would it preclude you from doing anything?
No, it doesn't impact anything else. It's just your final decision on the recommendation that was sent to you by our Historic Preservation Commission. So it is totally your control designation. There's no other timeline involved.
Okay.
I would like to comment. My concern with this, and I've spoke with Hudson on this in regards to the decision, is even if we tabled it or we decided someone comes with a check, it still ultimately is the Will County's decision whether or not they do something with it. So ultimately, I'm in fear of, let's just say we table it, or like you said, we handcuff the county, that the county just lets the building sit there for the next 30 years and not do nothing with it because it's their building. There's legal whatever they have. So I feel concerns with that we are, and I mentioned this to Hudson, like I don't like Larry Hudson said, that we will be handcuffing the Will County board and the executive and them to do something that they've been since 2017 working on. However, it's been going on over there between them is, I am a fan, me personally, on the personal level, outside of city council, would love to see it redone and rebuilt just like I did my building, because I believe in doing that. But that fear of, are we forcing now another body of government to do something that they don't have to plan, they've already voted on and they're doing. So I wasn't a fan of this procedure, this process of the way we're doing it. And if we do vote, table it, will that give us a solution 2 weeks from now, still change anything from where we're at today?
Well, no, that was my why I prefaced before I made the table. And I'm really not supposed to be talking now because there's a table, but no one seconded yet, so let's just finish this off. My proposal was, we got the Cassidy building out there, and we're stuck with that. There's been no money out there. We keep getting, oh yeah, we're working on it. However, there are a lot of county people here, county board people, and they shut the conversation down at the county, okay? And they want to repurpose it. So that's why I'm saying, show me the money. You keep coming here and talk to the mayor for you said 3 years, Mayor, with proposal. The developers have this, they want to do this. Okay, if that's in fact true, come forward in 2 weeks with the checks and say in your plans what you're going to do with it, and then we could go from there. Otherwise, we can go right back to making it, denying the landmark, and then the county can do whatever they want.
I guess the question would be, though, if they do come with checks and is that the county bound to then accept those and say that that's what they're going to do?
No.
So that's what I mean. I don't know. I don't
It's
know
complicated. It's complicated.
Go ahead. I would just say that, I think there's two sides to that same coin, in that, yes, the developers need to come forth with, again, clear plans and funding of how to actualize those plans and materialize them. But I think the same could be said of the county government. What's the plan for the space after demolition?
You're right. That's a very good point. Point.
I mean, it doesn't sound like there's communication going on, and I don't want to get in another governmental body's business, and that's why we're in this predicament now. They made a decision back in 2019, and now here it is in front of us, right? It's their business. I'm just gonna be frank. It's their business. Yes, we do. I have an interest. I'm excited about what Hudson and the group want to do. I think it'd be great, but there's no communication from what it sounds like, and I'm hoping the county can engage your group and move forward. I agree with this preservation thing, but I don't want to get the city involved in the county's issue. Just like if you're going to tear down this building, and now they're coming over here. We have Will County representatives. I don't know why you can't reach the gap there or get a meeting with the executive. I know it's very difficult, but again, for me, I don't want to get involved in the county's business. And I agree with what Larry said. Those are pretty much my comments. So
I just wanted to weigh in, Mayor, and say that this feels like, and I love Hudson Hollister, and I love this group, and they have a lot of passion. There's many, many issues in my district I wish that I could see this passion for, like gun violence. I love the passion, but I'm gonna tell you that this feels to me like you didn't get the answer you wanted from Mom, now you're coming to Dad. and my parents stood as a unified front. But I agree with Joe and Councilman Clement, that, we don't want to be involved in another government bodies, as we wouldn't want another government body to come here and try and tell us what to do. That's just my comments. It feels like going around someone's back. And if there's one thing, I've heard a lot of things said about this council. If anything, this council right here, we over communicate ad nauseum with each other. So the fact that they don't over there, or they've been shut down, that is not our issue, in my opinion, and those are my comments.
Mayor?
And I do appreciate the passion.
Mayor, look, and that's a good analogy, Councilwoman. You know, you go to mom and you get no to dad. It sounds like there was some level of communication. They made their votes. I believe recently they went back to a committee. I don't know if it's the building committee or the Capitol committee.
Executive committee.
Executive committee, which said the committee, which is board members, correct?
Correct.
County board members, and it lost. This is democracy. It sounds like this group, and I respect your passion. I think everybody up here does, didn't get the answer they wanted. So now this will be an end run, like I said, like we've all been reiterating, to handcuff that county. And, you know, I respect the county board members that came here, but they're not here in an official capacity because they can't vote here. We have to vote. That's not our issue. If any of us can go somewhere in an activist situation as elected officials and make our voices known, we're still citizens. We don't lose that right. But obviously, there's not enough county board members to overturn the legal vote that was taken in 2019 and any subsequent committee, executive committee votes. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. They would be there voting on it. So this is democracy at work. This is an asset that belongs to a governing body that is legal and has elected officials. And I won't handcuff them. That's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for a table? Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion table.
Been motion and seconded to table Council Memo 478-23 to the October 3rd council meeting. Councilwoman Ibarra?
Can I pass? Come back to me last?
Jan did.
If Jan did, then I can.
When did I do that?
Northwood.
Is that legal, Scott? Can I pass and come back around?
Years ago.
It's up to, you know, I do not recall under what the rule is on Robert's rules.
Am I voting to table this?
Not,
Table the
not at the
denial.
moment.
You're voting
It's to table it to the October
2
3rd
weeks.
council meeting.
No. No.
Councilman Mudrin?
No,
Again, this is to table to the October 3rd meeting.
correct.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
No.
Councilman Cardenas?
No.
Councilman Clement?
No.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
No.
Mayor Darcy?
No.
The motion failed, 2 ayes, 7 noes.
So now we return to the actual agenda item.
Is there someone that would like to make a motion to, the recommendation is to approve the resolution denying a request to designate 14 West Jefferson Street as a local historic landmark.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve Council Memo 478-23, a resolution denying the request to designate 14 West Jefferson Street as a local historic landmark. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
That's a losing battle, so I'll just vote aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
No.
Councilman Hug?
Mr. Adamowski, which is kind of proof that I was trying to keep up, even taking care of my private life. There was no risk. I know you were concerned about a risk of a 4-4 tie. I saw that earlier when I was driving. I was listening to the meeting. Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried 8-1. The resolution was approved, which denies the designation.
I want to make a comment in between everything. I am going to ask the county if they'll give us some time to relate back to some of the new changes that have been made in some of the laws, River's Edge tax credit. I don't deny that those weren't here in the first conversation. But Hudson, you and I have talked in the past, and I said you really can't make the city handcuff anybody to the building. So I do respect everything, and with all due respect to all your energies, I will ask the county executive that we could come up with a way to formalize the available credits that are now there that maybe weren't there in original dialogue. And let's see what we can do with that. I'll give you that commitment from me.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, would you allow me to make a comment?
Yeah,
I forgot to make it during our conversation. What I did notice last night when I was watching the stream, and I think it was mentioned again a couple of times when I was driving here and listening to the stream, has been no, not only formal action, any discussion on this council, what I refer to as the new council, which was seated the first week of May. We all remember Terry became our new mayor, and we added 2 new council members. There has been zero discussion about the city participating in any city-county campus. As a matter of historical accuracy, it was brought up a year or a little bit more than a year ago by the former city manager in executive session as possible land purchase, and he was essentially, and I brought up, I said, what do you mean you're preliminarily discussing an agreement with the county? Who gave you that authority? We didn't. It was killed by the council in executive session. It has not been revived formally, so I'm not sure why people kept coming up here last night stating that it's a done deal. It's not even been discussed by this council yet, either here in public or even under land acquisition in the executive session. We've had no discussions whatsoever. Other folks might have a dream of doing that, but there's been no discussion here. I just wanted to clarify that for everybody.
I can speak to why, Mayor, if it works. The reason why is that it's being used in the city council as in the county board as justification for the demolition. The reason why we have to do it now, because the next plan that we have for this site is to build the city-county campus and to go to the city of Joliet for support for it. That's the reason why it's relevant, because it's what the county executive's office has stated as the next plan for this location.
And I understand that, Mr. Hollister, you know, I can't speak for another elected official. I don't know why they would be saying that. We've not even discussed it, not even discussed it once yet as a council, as a body.
Well, Mr. Hug, thank you. That statement is relevant to the deliberations that are happening on the county board. The most recent vote of the full county board was to study redevelopment options. That resolution was killed by the executive committee, but the most recent action of the full county board was to study redevelopment. One of the things that's relevant for the consideration of the county board, and one of the reasons why I appreciate the discussion here, is that the full county board needs to know how the city of Joliet would react if there were a plan put forward that would require the city of Joliet and the county to jointly fund something.
And I'm not going to pressure anybody up here because it's very preliminary, although we already explored it, as I explained maybe a year ago, right? I will not support spending tens of millions of dollars on a new city hall. I'm going to come out right out in front and say that. I'm on the record. That's just one of 9. Remember that, Mr. Hollister. I don't speak for anybody else up here.
Thank you.
Can I change my vote?
All right, the next item on the agenda is Council Memo 479-23, a resolution requesting authorization to enter into a regular 2023 Justice Assistance Grant intergovernmental agreement between the City of Joliet and Will County.
I can bring it back.
It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So move.
Second.
In motion seconded to approve, Councilwoman Coleman.
Okay, discussion here.
There's been a motion.
All right, what are we motioning? Because I was talking about something different, but didn't get an answer.
It's been motion seconded to approve Council Memo 479-23.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Mayor, I wanted to go back to 478 because I wanted to change my vote to a no. Can I do that?
I would say it's up to the council on whether or not.
It does, it's not gonna change anything, but I just want to be on the
We
record
can just
voting
change
no.
the record
Without
to show
objection?
that her,
No,
yeah,
no.
if there's no objection, we can change the record to show that it's a
Anybody
no vote
object?
for.
No objections?
No objection.
Your vote is a no.
Thank you.
Let the record show that Councilwoman Coleman is a no vote for Council Memo 478-20.
Just to be consistent.
Moving on to Council Memo 480-23, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Forest Preserve District of Will County for an extension of the Rock Run Greenway Trail to Olympic Boulevard. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 481-23, a resolution approving the acquisition of right-of-way for the Olympic Boulevard Improvement Project, parcel 0011, 0012, 0013, 0014, 0016, and 0020. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 482-23, a resolution approving the subrecipient award agreement between Will County and City of Joliet for the Rosalind Street culvert replacement. It's recommended said resolution be adopted.
So move.
Second.
Motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement.
Faster.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo 483-23, a resolution approving a license agreement with Wisconsin Central Limited doing business as CN Rail concerning the Collins Street Water Main Improvements Project in the amount of $12,200. Recommended said resolution be adopted.
I apologize, so moved.
Second.
Been motion and seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Real quickly, folks, I'll cast my vote in a second. I do appreciate any and all colleagues who are indulging me. I'm going to cast it and leave. I really want to get back with my family. I'll vote aye. Thank you,
Thank you.
folks.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is the city manager's report.
Thank you. Just a few things I wanted to mention. Just first, I wanted to congratulate the Latino Economic Development Association on the fiesta last Saturday. It was a terrific event. I know we had a bit of rain to deal with in the beginning, but it turned out terrific, and that happened to be Councilman Cardenas's birthday, so there was some rumor that the whole party was potentially for you, but just congratulations to that group. We do have the Mexican Independence Day Parade, which was rescheduled to this coming Saturday, the 23rd, downtown this week. We will have Metra Commuter Rail here on November 1st. They're going to be using our council room to have their annual 2024 budget and program hearing here in Will County, so we're going to allow them to use that space. That'll be November 1st from 4 to 6. And then two things, one to remind you of and one to tell you about regarding our upcoming October meeting. Again, just a reminder that we'll have our downtown parking consultant here to do a presentation on the parking study that we've long awaited to hear. And then secondly, if you recall when the chief and the team were down in Springfield and came in narrowly in second for the Governor's Hometown Award. They're gonna come here. The Illinois Service Commission on Volunteerism will be here on October 2nd. We'll actually get the Governor's Hometown sign presentation done here at the council meeting, so. That's all I had.
Next is public comments. Mary White.
Good evening. Mayor, City Council, Councilwoman Ibarra. My name is Mary White, and I do just have one thing that I want to talk about. I know the issue about the Riverwalk Apartments, AKA Evergreen Terrace, that came up. And I was out of town. I was not here, but I did listen to it on YouTube and everything. And I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And what I wanted to share, I just want to read this scripture that says, "This is what the Lord says. Let not the wise boast of their wisdom, or the strong boast of their strength, or the rich boast of their riches, but let the one who boasts boast about this, that they have the understanding to know me, that I am the Lord who exercises kindness, justice, and righteousness in the earth. For these things I delight, declares the Lord." And I just want to do a little bit of boasting about the steadfast love of God, his justice and his righteousness in my life, and specifically how it relates to Evergreen Terrace. And I have here, if I can give this to the mayor just to pass down.
Thank you.
And what that is that has my ID on it when I lived in Evergreen Terrace. Before that, next to it in 1987 was the Illinois Department of Public Aid when I was on public aid. Eventually, I went through a lot. Everybody basically my story where I was homeless, went in drug treatment and all of this here. When I came out of the halfway house, I moved into Evergreen Terrace, which gave me the opportunity to develop some stability, to come back into reality, to be stable. I didn't have to fear about getting thrown out on the streets and all this here, but it gave me an opportunity to do the things that I needed to do. And what did I do? I went to the College of St. Francis and earned an associate degree, a Black American Christian Counselor with a 4.0 GPA. Continue on and got a double major, a bachelor's in psychology and social work in 1994 from the University of St. Francis. I went on advanced standing and earned my degree in 1996 from Clark Atlanta University, my MSW. And then I worked at IYC Joliet as a mental health professional, as a social worker. And as you can see on that second page, where my education, I just earned my degree in June, a doctor of ministry. And so what I'm saying is people live over there. People are doing things. When I was over there going to school, I also with other people who lived over there who were taking classes with me, going to school with me over there. And so as you consider what you are going to do with that property, consider the positive impact that it is having on a number of people who live over there just like me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak under public comments this evening? Seeing none, next is mayor and council comments.
Caesar.
I just wanted to also then just thank everyone that came out for the Fiesta en la Calle that happened this past Saturday. And I did not coordinate that directly on my birthday as a celebration. It just happened to fall that way. But for those that don't know, that is the largest fundraiser for the Joliet Latino Economic Development Association. There is a website, jolietlera.org, for those that want to know more about, the transparency as far as what that does and what this party is being thrown for. And what it does, and it helps the small businesses, the Latino businesses specifically, but all businesses, anyone that's entrepreneurs that are starting a business, to be a part of. And that, again, is one of the largest fundraisers that they have in order to keep doing that operation. And secondly, I also wanted to thank the Joliet Park District and the Joliet Park Foundation. We had a ribbon cutting at a new park, a park that was redone during COVID in the corner of Parkwood and Route 6. We were able to have a celebration, official ribbon cutting that had been years due, and the Parkwood Neighborhood Committee wanted to have something together. The Joliet Park Foundation, several members, Pat Mudring, he's on the board of the Joliet Park Foundation, joined us as well, to be there to just celebrate that ribbon cut of a beautiful park now in the Parkwood neighborhood. And just thank you.
Joe. Yeah, we all have a lot of passion up here, and I'm pleased that we can have discussion and it doesn't get out of hand. I respect everyone up here. Nothing here is personal. I'm trying to do the best thing that I think is right, and it's just the way it goes. I look forward to working with everybody moving forward. So,
Thank you.
Again, give a shout out to the Fiesta in la Calle. It was very successful. I was there myself. I know I saw Councilman Mundrin, Councilman Cardenas, of course, a few others. We'll have, again, as the city manager mentioned, the parade itself coming on Saturday, which has been rerouted to downtown rather than on Collins Street, just so everybody's aware of that. And of course, I'd be remiss to not mention that we will also be having Pride Fest at Bicentennial Park later that same day, this Saturday. And to bring up a bit of old business from tonight, I know we all want to stick around and talk even longer about it. But Mayor, I want to applaud you for bring everybody together here tonight on the issue of the re-subdivision. I was not expecting it to work out so cleanly. So that was I think that was good work on behalf of yourself, everyone here at the council, and I want to thank the applicants for being so willing to move forward in good faith. I also want to say that the issue of the courthouse does affect us in a legislative and fiduciary responsibility, because we need to be able to put together a comprehensive plan and a plan for how we intend to revitalize our downtown. And that's a huge and critical site. And so while we may not have direct legislative authority over it, I do hope that we can, as been mentioned, have those direct conversations with everyone over at the county so that we can come to some sort of understanding. And I'll say that, quite frankly, I hate brutalism. I hated it here in Joliet. I hated the Regenstein Library at the University of Chicago, hated looking at it, hated being inside of it. But I can't help but feel, I don't know if empathy is the right word, but to see myself in the courthouse. It's a fellow Joliet native that's been perhaps a bit unfairly judged for their appearance, who has been kind of cast away at different times. And I firmly believe in the idea of restorative justice and the idea that people and things can be transformed, that they can be given new life and new opportunity, as I have myself. So again, we may not have the direct authority to decide what happens with that location, but I do hope it's given the consideration that it deserves. So,
Thank you.
I just want to say, shout out to Glory Harvest International Church. I was invited to a Nehemiah project where the city helped a little bit with containers to pick up garbage. Mrs. Mary White, we knocked on your door. I thought I was just going to pick up garbage, and I was fully prepared to pick up garbage. They started knocking on doors and then calling me over, and I had someone who was actually writing out everything the residents were saying. A lot of that was passed to city staff, who I already got a nice message back that some of the requests, some of the bigger requests were already taken care of. So that is what community is about. I would love to see more of that. I love my people in District 5. I think they're feeling civic muscle. They're seeing that when they show up and they speak, that they're being listened to. So thank you for that. And then lastly, I would have loved to have hung the pride flag for Pride Month. However, we don't always get what we want in life. And I want to say to the LGBTQ community, I love you. Happy Pride on Saturday at Bicentennial Park. I love you. I see you. I hear you. And I am with you, a lifelong ally. Thank you so much.
As Caesar had mentioned, the Park Foundation was a big part of the dedication, and so was Betty Gavin. And Betty Gavin was able to come and talk to all the people there that were, she's been a big part of for years. The park did get finished a few years ago, and then with some other issues, COVID obviously being a big one, we never got to a formal ribbon cutting. But the Park Foundation did donate $50,000, and that's the 6th park here in Joliet that the Park Foundation has worked with. Caesar is also on the Park Foundation board, and been able to do good things with a lot of other people's help. So everybody that came, thank you. And I did make it down to see younger Caesar dancing. Didn't take any pictures, but I see Caesar dancing. And it appeared to be a good time for everybody. Thank you.
I guess I'm up. I also attended the festival, and I would say sing happy birthday to Mr. Councilwoman Cardenas. It was just so nice to see everybody out there, and the little ones dancing. They were just so darn cute. I'll tell you, they start them young. And on another note, I did hear on the radio the other morning. I mean, Trista Barham was here yesterday, and she's got an event going down at the courthouse, the old courthouse in the, what would you call it, the foyer out in front. You're gonna have salsa dance lessons, and they want everybody to come out with their families and the kids, and they're gonna teach salsa dancing on Saturday afternoon. I believe it starts at noon, but I'm not quite sure about that. It might be on the WJOL website. But other than that, good conversation. I mean, I agree with what Joe said. You know, we can just sit here and debate, but that's what we're about here. I mean, not always only going to agree, but we get things done, and we can leave respectfully, still liking each other and not hating each other. So that's all I have. Be well and stay safe, everybody.
Okay. I just want to say, in the last week or so, I met with the folks at the Messiah Lutheran Church. And you may have been in the area where you see those blue and white signs that say, help us save our church. It's on the corner of, most of them are on the corner of Humboldt and Jefferson Street. They had a very unfortunate, very unusual set of circumstances that took place, and I'm not going to go into it, but they do stand to lose their church. So if you're interested in looking at what the story is about, and possibly it's up to you, a donation, you could go to savemessiah.org. But it's a very sad and unusual story. That being said, I'm going to tell you about something happy. I'm sure you may have seen it in the paper this morning in the Herald News about every September they do saluting branches, where they coordinate within 100 different veteran cemeteries. And as usual, our arborist for the city of Joliet, Jim Tiber, is leading the charge again to beautify our area. So this is his 7 out of 9 years of being the site manager for doing this. They come together, they have 100 volunteers. Most of them are professional arborists or landscapers. They bring heavy duty equipment. They have several large oak trees that they take down at the expense of themselves, you know, their volunteerism, their equipment. And it saves the cemetery in Abraham Lincoln. They think roughly $30-some thousand just for this volunteer work for these few hours tomorrow. But it's great work, and Jim's always in there, you know, trying to help make things better. So good for him. And that's it.
Thank you. My turn. I only need about a half hour, so don't worry about it. I've got a whole list of things that we have accomplished together. I won't go through them all. A couple things, though, that I'm pretty happy about. We did meet for the second time with Rainbow Push Coalition in Chicago with a group of us, and we're working with them to collaborate with some of the youth programs that they've gotten. They're very successful throughout the country, and we think we're going to start to bring back some of that influence. Had the good honor to be with Denise Winfrey when she was awarded the Athena Award on September 13th. So congratulations to her and all she's done. A group of us visited Ecolab with the CEO of the they're in 172 countries. The CEO came to Joliet to celebrate the 50th year of their plant with us here. And he's very excited about the opportunity they have in Joliet. They're looking to expand their worldwide reach. And they really like what we have here. We've got people and power and water and everything they like. A great meeting. We spent the morning with them. September 16th, Saturday, spent some time with the Live Well Community Day at 1705 Richards with the National Hookup of Black Women. What a great event. I mean, I was really happy to be there. Celebrated Caesar's birthday. I got a whole bunch of stuff. But here I'm gonna go back to Mary White. And Mary, I think you make a really, really strong point. There are 356 families in our community that change is coming, good and bad. But not bad in the sense that Caesar and myself and Rod are flying tomorrow morning, in 6 hours actually, we're leaving here to go meet with a fellow named Rich Minacchio. He's the number 2 man at HUD for the country. And we keep asking, what can we do better? What can we do better? So we've invited ourselves out there to meet with he and his staff. And we said, we want to know what the best cities in the country have done to repurpose places like that, to create more affordable housing, to make housing better for our community. So he's taken the time, and his staff's taken the time to give us some examples of what we can do to be better. They're also offering some opportunities that I won't go into right now that could expand the opportunities for the 356 families and keeping them in our community, keeping them in better places. I mean, this is what we're all about as a community. We're about people. So I really appreciate your story tonight. It adds strength to what we want to do with this meeting with Mr. Minacchio. I spoke with him on the phone for about 40 minutes the other day, and we had a really good dialogue. He actually worked for Senator Sangmeister years ago. He said, I'm very familiar with Will County. So he was very receptive to us coming out, and we didn't waste any time. We decided, well, let's just get out there right away. So we're heading out there tomorrow, leaving here in approximately 6 hours. We've had a lot of fun the last couple of days, and so appreciate everybody's patience and time, and thanks to the council and everyone that comes in with passion, and we just continue to try to do the right thing for our city. So thank you all.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And motion seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.